Let's do it. It's go time.
And we're off. How's it going out there, guys? If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Got a great one lined up for you today. Let's see who we got on the panel. The distinguished Nathan Oakley, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. It's good to be here talking about science again. Couldn't be more excited.
Yes, sir. We have the Adam Meakin.
Good evening. I've just fulfilled my admin duties. Mitchell was waiting for the link. I just checked, but I think he's just joined us actually. So just
Great.
checking where
Radio check. Radio check. Damn. Radio check. Mitchell from Australia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. I'm here. Thank you, Adam, for letting me know this in Discord.
It's a pleasure, bro.
Didn't I let you know that this was in Discord?
You may have. I've got my wires crossed. I was waiting for like a Google Meet link or something, but all good. I'm here. Let's do this thing.
Can you tell us what time it is? I already know what time it is. I checked. What time it is it where you're at?
It's a warm and toasty 5 a.m.
I looked at it today. I said, oh, God. Yeah.
I actually had a dream that I missed it, and you were so pissed off at me, and I was never coming back again.
It wouldn't have been that dramatic, man. I'd like to introduce the newest member of the BALLBUSTERS team, Mitchell from Australia. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, mate. Glad to be here. Really excited.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm from Australia, obviously. As per the name, Australia definitely does exist. I'm running a flat Earth school which is just the school that is around us 24/7. Since the beginning of existence on my channel. Every day I'm going out doing live streams, just detailing and describing and making some observations about our beautiful flat Earth around us. That's pretty much me in a nutshell at the moment.
And you're running a flat Earth school, and that's well, we'll deal with that at the end. Just the highlights of.
So I'm not the school. The school is our beautiful natural world, and I'm just kind of making some observations, just getting out there, beautiful locations, showing people just real physical things in our reality, rather than kind of just sitting in front of a computer screen showing people videos and that sort of thing. I try to get out and do demonstrations, and that's something that I would like to see personally from other YouTube channels. So that's what I'm trying to do. I try to get out, hands-on, physical things, demonstrations. That's just how I learn, and that's how a lot of people do learn, with demonstrations, seeing things. And yeah, so I'm not the teacher. I'm a student, just like everyone else, always learning in this beautiful flat Earth school around us.
Like
That's
playing
just
with
total
sharks.
nonsense. That's just nonsense. It's just total modesty. So Mitchell is an excellent teacher, and his show is fantastic. So you need to subscribe if you're listening to this. There's not been enough upbeat enthusiasm about Flat Earth School and Mitchell from Australia's channel. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mitchell. You're like basically doing this full time. You're currently self-unemployed. Therefore, this is like your thing now. This is what you've got all your focus into, and it shows. It really shows.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a massive explosion in my channel of enthusiasm just from me, anyway. Because yeah, as you say, self-unemployed, just about what's going on in the world at the moment. I've become unemployable, so I could definitely go and work, but there's things that I'm not going to lower myself to in order to make that happen. So yeah, I am doing this full time. I appreciate any support from everybody, just people turning up to view, because I am doing this full time. And yeah, as you said, John, yeah, I was playing with some sharks yesterday in the water. So that's the kind of stuff you can expect from Flat Earth School, just getting out there and seeing beautiful animals, seeing our beautiful Flat Earth School, and talking about Flat Earth and everything in it.
Sweet.
I'd like to welcome Mitchell if I could. Welcome, mate. I really enjoy Flat Earth
Thanks,
School.
Adam.
And, as your prof. I just want to point out, Mitchell's probably new to having to a lot of listeners here, but he's been around a long time, and certainly did a good stint with the guy I respect and love so much, Paul on the Plane. You've been talking this for a while, mate, haven't you? And I think it's circumstances that have, I think, fortuitously for us all. I'm loving it of an evening. Sometimes I miss class. I think I'm allowed to skip class every now and again, but I'm loving it in the evening. It's a great show. Like I say, you're just sharing with us. Honestly, you can just sit there and enjoy the beautiful scenery just as you chat. It's absolutely stunning. So I wish the channel all the best, mate. And I said, just to point out, you've been at this for a while, mate, haven't you? It's not you've just been stuck on a beach from nowhere.
Yeah, I've been around the block a few times, so I know the arguments inside out, and yeah, not afraid to back up what I claim. And yeah, I used to have a podcast with Paul on the Plane. It used to be called Dome Life. Just yeah, certain circumstances for both of us didn't really make it happen, just time differences and things going on. But yeah, I'm doing this full time on YouTube. Yeah, as you said, Adam. Yeah, I've been around for a while, about 4 years, I guess, in the scene, just doing different things. And yeah, I try and get out and see sunrises, animals, because there's just abundance of beauty in my local area, and I just want to share it with people, because there are a lot of people at the moment that can't go out themselves, or think they can't go out themselves and see these things. So I just want to share it with everyone, and yeah, share the love around. Thanks a lot, Adam, for being there too. I appreciate your help when I need some quick maths or a bit of a a good description on something, whether it be true or not, you certainly have a way of words. Thanks a lot, Adam, for being there amongst my shells.
Does that relate to the description of how a magnet works? I think how a compass works. I think.
Absolutely. I didn't have any clue. So you could have said anything, and I would have just read it out anyway.
The point I was alluding to there was actually to Nathan, who was in the chat as well. I was just saying, look, it's definitely true because I just made it up myself just now, and so it proved it was true.
He is,
and that's
he isn't gonna be able to fit his head through the friggin' BALLBUSTERS walls to get in the room anymore. Thanks a lot, Mitchell.
That's okay. I'm going to round out the plug for him. So, I'll draw Swift close to this QE if that's subtle hints to move on. It wasn't subtle enough, but there we go. So, yeah, I want to praise the type of production as well, because without anybody actually, if you're not subscribed or you're not watching Flat Earth School at the moment on the Mitchell from Australia YouTube channel, then I want to give you an idea of what to expect, because there's been some hints about sharks and things like that. So there are proper presentations done. And I've got goosebumps talking about this because I was showing it to my wife and going, check out how he's doing this. How slick is it to monitor the chat live, interact with the chat live, present something out on location live at sunrise, like I say, along with your presentation and your interaction with the chat. And the presentation gets a full-on slideshow. In other words, Mitchell's got his iPad out there, but he's out in the open, he's in the elements, doing a full-on presentation, like concisely. The camera with it set up in such a way that there's no glare on the iPad and you can see it, and his hand steady, he's calm, he's presenting this. My hat is off to you. I'm slightly in awe. I don't think I could do what you do. I love that. I like seeing things. I think I couldn't do that. That's amazing. So my hat's off to you. Go and subscribe. Check out Mitchell from Australia's channel. Watch Flat Earth School. I'm going to schedule the Uncut and After show, by the way, Mitchell, so it doesn't overlap. So I'll push that an hour so that it's not overlapping. So typically, if you were watching Flat Earth Debate at 9 p.m. UK time, which is when Flat Earth School goes out, which is 6 a.m., something like that, sunrise in Australia. Now that'll go forward an hour, so there might be 5 or 10 minutes overlap. But either way, just so anybody knows, if you know when the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After show was, that's when Mitchell from Australia goes live, just so you know.
Appreciate that, Nathan. that little scheduling. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was going to say, do you want me to change my time? But yeah, if you're willing, thanks, mate. And yeah, now that makes 2 of us, Adam. Our heads are definitely not going to be able to fit through this door to get in here.
No, it's not. I can't reschedule that. It's a replay of something that's gone out to members and is going out to the public for the first time at an obscure time, right? Whereas on your stream at sunrise, you've got sharks in the water. So I think it's me that should be rescheduling, or not you. You get those times. I think I have that more than my time slot.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Just
Thanks,
to be a
mate.
pain in the bum.
If I could jump in for a sec.
Oh, chocolate. All right, bro. All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to say what's up. And what's up, Mitchell, man? What's going on, brother? You're out
Hey,
there
Chocolate.
doing legendary shit, bro. I love it. Awesome,
Just
man.
doing my
It's
bit
good.
for the community.
Well,
Yeah, bro. It's good stuff.
Well, welcome him as a brother, because he is now a member of the BALLBUSTERS team.
Oh, well, what's up, brother? Welcome. I think I actually said call the brother already.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
We'll get this guitar out. We'll sing Kumbaya around the fire.
Yeah. We could do that, bro. Make some music. But yeah, yo, your Flat Earth School is awesome, man. I was actually watching it the other day while I was driving. You had the sun out there, and I'm like, I had the sun over here, and I'm just like, wow, man, that's so cool that he's supposed to be where he's supposed to be on a ball. But yeah, here we are, both looking at the sun, and it's dope. And he's doing it live, and it's fucking awesome. So yeah, man, kudos to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Yeah, brother.
Arwen, you want to gush over Mitchell too?
Oh, Mitchell. No. No, I love your Flat Earth School, dude. But because I'm spamming your chat all full with my inspired comments. and all that. But yeah, great shows, good talks, and yeah, the scenery is just amazing. Like you
This
live at a beautiful place. It's just mind-boggling.
I
But
was pretty thrilled to see those sharks, Arwen, because the previous day you're like, is there any wildlife in the water there, Mitchell? And I walked over to some rock pools expecting to see something, and there was nothing. And then the next day, the sharks. So I was pretty thrilled to see that.
yeah, very cool. And beautiful beaches and all that. It's just like, wow, there's not a single piece of junk just detectable anywhere. That's just, I thought those didn't exist anymore. Pretty amazing.
Speaking to
Yeah.
spamming, hold on 1 second. Speaking to spam in the chat. Hey, Mitchell, when you get a chance, jump in the live stream on the video. If you can.
Oh, yeah, we'll do. I'll try and figure out how to do that.
Yeah, on the YouTube live stream, just say, hey, as long as I got your hey, then I'll make you a moderator. And then whenever appropriate, you can put your link to your channel in there. It's usually at the end of the show, but you can do it whenever you want.
Yeah, I'll jump in now. Thanks, mate. Yep.
Yep.
Wait, so does that mean we get a remix to the sickest intro in Flat Earth? Adam.
Chocolate, you are a link master. You are. No. Do you mean? Oh, I've got to shed loads of work to do again. Yeah.
Yes.
Something like that. That's why I said Adam.
John asked probably a month or more ago to let's do a remake, a rehash. Maybe the what's the woke word? You know, your snowflake. Is it to reimagine?
I don't do woke.
No. So no, people aren't going to be like non-gender assigned or anything like that. But I've got to completely redo it. And as I've said to him, I need a new muse. The last one was kind of like a little bit superheroes stroke gladiators, which was you'd have had that in the 90s, gladiators. It was that kind of vibe. So I want to ask everybody in chat, or anyone, what kind of theme or vibe should the new intro have? So I'm looking for a little bit of inspiration. So yeah, chat, if you can help, or anyone. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Just Spider-Man. Okay.
What does the winner get, Adam?
Well, as I said, when I've wrote it, they can have a signed copy of my autobiography.
You know, Adam, not for nothing. I had this song stuck in my head the other day, and I'm thinking, and this was like for a good while. I don't know why, but the song just kept playing again and again in my head, and I'm like, what the hell superhero movie am I singing in my head right now? I couldn't think of it, and then at the end, I was just like, oh shit, that's BALLBUSTERS. I was like, damn it, Adam.
Yeah. Well, that was the point of that one. It was superheroes. Yeah. Please help. Feedback, John.
Nathan, you're feeding back.
You ain't got feedback from me. I was on mute.
That's Nathan.
I was just saying you've got feedback, John, on your show. I weren't blaming you, mate.
Yeah.
I reckon it was Nathan. Was that Nathan?
It's probably Nathan. Yeah, probably.
Line was on mute. It's just Discord does that time to time.
All right. Let's take a shout out for a super chat from you, Daddy. Or you, Data. 2 statisticians on a plane. Do you know the probability we have a BOMB? 1 in 2 billion. And 2 BOMBS that are unrelated. That's impossible. Correct. That's why I'm always flying with the BOMB. Thanks a lot, you daddy.
Okay.
Currency is that?
I have no
I
idea.
don't recognize the symbol.
What the hell does woke mean?
Well, if I was to quote President Trump, everything woke turns to shit, which is probably the best way of understanding.
Basically, yes.
Woke is all about white noise privilege.
White privilege?
No,
No,
white
it's
noise.
kind of, it's all that CRT nonsense, all the taking of a knee, footballers to show racial injustice to fight for it. These multi-million-pound people.
I'm totally confused. Fighting for racial injustice.
But not really, are they? They're doing it from a, like I said, a CRT perspective. So it's more
CRT?
like social, critical race theory. So, you know, just because I'm white, I'm empowered in so many ways. Yeah. That I should be apologetic for it, and society should adjust its way of treating with people differently. To take that into account, that simple fact that my lack of melanin enables me in so many other ways. It's the most racist theory you'll ever hear, because basically it describes black people as inferior, which is what's great to see America
Is that
waking
really
up.
what woke means? I can't quite believe my ears. Really?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
I think it's the Ku Klux Klan have rebanded themselves, took 20 years to get in there and convince everybody that this new way of equality, which under the skin describes people of color, whatever, it doesn't have to be black, it can be Asian. Well, this is the sticky point with it when you get to Asians and Indian Asian, yeah, because they ruin the statistics in terms of white privilege and racism of maths and things like that. But under the skin, yeah, the basic premise that's there is to imply that black people need help because they're inferior in some way. Whether that's white privilege or some other means, that's the crux of it. And if you disagree with that as a white person, you're racist.
Okay. I'm sorry, Huey. I know we're going to talk about science slightly in this show at some point, but you also mentioned about gender assignment when you mentioned woke. Where does that tie in then? I have no idea about any of this stuff. I don't get
Gender
exposed to media.
identity. How dare you, Nathan? Get with the times, man. This is ridiculous social constructs that you need to remember because it's more important than everything, if you believe what they say about it.
I'm asking it.
You're not one of those Philistines, are you, that think gender's based on your chromosomes and the mix of the two, so there could only be two genders?
Yeah. Apparently, that's the old and busted now.
Get
You could
woke,
just say,
Nathan.
you know, I leave the house. You know, when you wake up, man, I leave the house. I identify as a cat. I could just do that, and I should be allowed to do that because I'm all woke, right? I've been awakened
woke.
from.
That's being woke.
It's
Okay.
retarded, man. It's the bro. Be glad you don't
Okay,
even know what the hell it is. It's
when
just
I-
And
retarded.
when I
horse
say-
dewormer, a lot of people start identifying with horses these days, if you believe media.
To clarify with Adam, when I say that as a black Muslim Jewish woman, this is going to be highly problematic, I'm actually taking the mickey out of the woke, right?
Yes.
Correct.
That's why
Exactly.
it's
I mean-
weird that you ask, what is it when you do you play around with it. That's hilarious. That's exactly what you're doing. You're being woke. I'm not Nathan Oakley. I'm a black helicopter from like a Muslim helicopter. And that's what I want.
Excuse
That's what I
me, don't
choose
call me
to identify myself as. today.
Don't call me a
It's
Jewish
ridiculous.
Muslim
We're losing
helicopter.
viewers.
Highly problematic.
Anyway,
If we didn't
Nonsense.
respect Nathan, if we didn't respect Nathan's right to identify as a black Muslim helicopter, yeah, then we would be exceptionally prejudiced and wholly unwoke, Nathan.
I understand. Well, can you stop oppressing me, black Jewish Muslim woman, or bloody helicopter? I
Yeah,
think I am.
yeah. You
I
didn't
think
get it
YouTube,
right.
I'd just like to apologize for my microaggressions to Nathan. And
You didn't get it right. You screwed it all up. He's not a helicopter.
Right on.
That's chocolate.
This
I'm a
is the
helico-
trouble. I don't even know
you're
what
the
pronoun to
airwolf,
use for a
chocolate.
helicopter.
Again, Adam.
I say I don't even know what pronoun to use for a helicopter, so I apologise. This is the
exactly the point. Exactly the point. Thanks.
I do. It's Tsar. God, what are you guys like? Tsar helicopter. What's wrong with you?
That's what we're talking about Airwolf, because that was the lady.
I thought the pronouns would be she and Nook for a helicopter.
She and Nook. Ha ha. Yeah. Okay.
And thank you.
That gets an applause. Now 10th, are you listening? Now that is gold.
That was high level.
Hot. Yes.
That was high level punnery right
It
there.
was so high level, it went straight over my head.
A Chinook
Just-
went over your
just
head. It
like
would
a
do. It's
helicopter. Now, let me ask you a question, because I was listening to a really old hangout yesterday, and it was really funny. It was some guy shaving on a hangout. I don't know if you remember this. And he said that when the helicopter goes straight up and it hovers, that it's actually rotating with the earth. So the helicopter has angular velocity. So does your Jewish helicopter have, or I'm sorry, Chocolate, what do you identify as?
Chocolate. What are you talking about?
I thought you were the helicopter.
No,
he's
as an example, man.
Oh, jeez.
Hold on,
Thanks.
stop. You telling me you can't draw out some absurdity from someone identifying as quote unquote chocolate? I think you can draw the absurdity out of that without much difficulty.
Chocolate saying hello. Giant gorilla
Oh.
monster wants to see a moon and all that. Where's your tail, Chocolate?
We better recover this, Mitchell. We're not usually like this. This is just one of those times, man.
Where else would you go for conversations like this? This is pretty cool. Exactly what I expected.
I'm
We'll
sure it
fight for
was.
chocolate's right to identify as candy.
We're like this when we're waiting for Glovers.
What else do you do? We've got to entertain ourselves somehow. We don't get any globe proof, do we?
Nope. Matter of fact,
Especially
we're
not
being
any-
told how flat it is. So yeah, keep going with that.
They're giving us arguments for us. We don't even have to do it anymore.
In case anybody's unaware, the absolute gem that is, at best you have debunked the radius, is as a direct result of the Black Swan being parroted to Mr. Sensible by Mitchell. In case you didn't know how we got that quote, it's because of Mitchell. In case people didn't know where it came from.
And he's been in damage control ever since. He even did a high altitude weather. He did 2 high altitude weather balloons just to try and get back that radius value at any sort of Earth curvature.
It worked. To a degree. Is Righteous here? Let's have a look. Oh, he's not.
No.
Okay. So Righteous was explaining to me on the debate. So I was using the Black Swan argument, but I was using it in a slightly different way because it was just an argument that somebody had postulated from a high altitude perspective. I just used the Black Swan. And Righteous Force was like, so the horizon up high is the same as the horizon down low then? I'm like, yeah. It's like it had never occurred to me that, speaking on behalf of Righteous, by the way, it never occurred to me that it's the exact same principle and the exact same argument and the exact same horizon, regardless of whether or not you're staring at it from the belly, on your belly at the beach at the Isle of Man, looking out at the north end of the Isle of Man, or up at 100,000 feet. Makes absolutely sod all difference. It's the same horizon. It's the same claim to be physical Earth curve edge, and the principles and its reliance on R are the same regardless of where you look at it from. But there's somehow a disconnect. When you talk to somebody about seeing Earth curve from high altitude, they normally phrase it in that way. Did you get to see the curve of the Earth? What they're actually asking is, what did the horizon look like? Because it's never phrased the horizon when you're talking about high altitude, it's actually normally called Earth curve. Or at the ground, it's not though, is it? Right? They're never normally talking about the horizon as Earth curve. They're normally talking about the drop value or the hidden value. It's implied. So therefore, there's a bit of a disconnect between people recognizing that the horizon's the horizon. It doesn't matter where you're looking at it from. It doesn't matter if it's high altitude and somebody's talking about it curving from an aeroplane, or whether or not, like I say, you're on the beach looking out at something in the distance. Principle has to be the same in terms of the geometry that they're asserting, and the debunk is the same in the sky. So it's like my conclusion now. Doesn't make any difference if you go up high to say, well, there's Earth curve because I've gone up high. It's like the horizon is not Earth curve. It doesn't suddenly become Earth curve because you've sent a balloon up into Mage, which was Mr. Sensible's balloon.
In the pre-Black Swan days, there was a lot of stuff presented by ball earthers then that would take diopters and stuff and represent the drop in the horizon as you went up, and there was a lot of conflicting data. But I think this is the beauty of the Black Swan. It shatters that myth. It destroys you, allowing you to think like that. Sometimes if I go up, then maybe, you know what I mean. And it absolutely destroys that myth that the horizon is anything other than just an optical dissolution point across a flat plane. It was one of the greatest gifts, the greatest arguments they had as horizons had moved. And I don't think anybody ever presented any significant data other than, rest his soul, Stan Smith. Did a lot of work with this in the early days with horizons on balloons and stuff, and showing that even as he went up in altitude, there was a drop in the horizon, then there was a rise in the horizon, then there was a drop in the horizon, and there was, there was nothing particular link. There was no correlation, I should say, between altitude and the horizon distance, other than that expected. But when you got to great distances and similar great altitudes, you would still get different horizons based on different locations, etc. And so that for me, back then, you were still looking at that and pondering it and not comprehending it. But the beauty of the Black Swan is it destroys any myth that you could have with regards to what the hell the horizon is. It's certainly now as clearly demonstrated as nothing geometric. Interesting that I just might still think that.
I was going to say, I recognised the magic trick prior to the Black Swan, but I didn't know how to pull it apart in a concise way. So as an example of that, if you take Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he's holding up the beach ball, he's slapping it and saying that stuff is flat. Well, most people didn't recognise the magic trick that when he's describing the ant not seeing the curve of the Earth from 3 millimeters above the beach ball, he's insisting by implication that you reify the edge of the beach ball into your horizon. Because he says that stuff is flat, most of the flat earthers didn't focus on the fact that you're not addressing the magic trick. He's got you to reify the horizon into the edge of a ball. The physical limitation to the view of the ant beyond the edge, the leading edge of the beach ball he's holding up, isn't your horizon. When he's telling you can't see the curve of the Earth from, I think he was making the example with the ISS. Like, well, the horizon's the curve of the Earth, isn't it? You're telling us you can't see the curve of the Earth, but you're still describing it with a beach ball that has a geometric limitation to something that's a couple of millimeters above it. Therefore, your horizon's still a geometric sphere edge. It's just you can't see it curving from high altitude. That's the long-winded version of the magic trick that Neil deGrasse Tyson uses to get both flat earthers and globe earthers go along with the magic trick that the horizon's a sphere edge, regardless of which paradigm you're in. See, even Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't see Earth curve from this altitude. Well, if you're a flat earther saying that, you've missed the point. The point being the horizon isn't Earth curve, and you can see it from any altitude.
It's his greatest magic.
Hey, everybody.
Brian?
And Brian.
What up, Brian?
Hey, lads. I think the question really, there's only one question, is the horizon optical or geometric? We all
Optical.
know the answer to that. Yeah. So that's the end of the argument, as far as whether it's a globe or not, isn't it? That's the end of that.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, I would say so. Not my show, but go ahead.
The term horizontal is a geometric term, though.
Correct. Where's horizon derived from?
What?
Horizontal.
Everyone just mumble.
So that's why you need bendizontal, isn't it, on a ball Earth?
All right, shout out to Bev. The moment you established that you're talking about geometry, and like
Shout
we
out
are at
to
the moment
Bev.
with the sextant. Go on.
I'm sorry, I was just reiterating the shout out to Bev. Try Thinking is his channel.
Indeed, you know, he gets to the point with the fundies where he's pointing out that you're talking geometric terms, and then suddenly they've got to bastardize the very geometry in its foundational setting, make their reified sphere belief work. The net result of that is they take horizontal and bend it. I mean, that's literally what they do. So he's come up with this term, bendizontal. Yeah, shout out to Bev Try Thinking.
It's like what they do with a lot
Why
of
would
things.
you guys
They
expect to
try
see
to
this
redefine.
geometry?
Sorry.
All right, one at a
Sorry,
time.
Adam.
We got
Go ahead,
Chocolate. Hold up. Chocolate, go ahead, and then Adam right after Chocolate.
No, Adam can go. Go ahead, man. I was just making the. You wouldn't expect to see that.
It's like what they do in a lot of the debate we have with this now. Okay, so that's clever there. These actually reinvented a word that parodies the ridiculous of what they're saying with regards to the historically defined and geometrically defined, in this case, term horizontal. You can't put horizontal on a ball. It creates that tangent. Shout out, Eli. See you there. It creates that tangent when you stick it on a ball. That's the point of it. It's horizontal. And that's what they try to do, is take well-defined words and ask you to, and I realized to the piss taking of the woke. They ask you to reimagine.
Nathan, got some feedback from you, sir. There you go. Go ahead, Adam.
No, well, that's the point. That in the ballers world, in the woke world, yeah, horizontal, right, has to be reimagined. It can't be defined by geometry anymore. Yeah, our understanding. It's got to be defined by a belief of being on a ball. Horizontal isn't a straight line. Horizontal is something that's runs equidistant from the center of a sphere, which is not the definition of horizontal, hence bendizontal.
And it just so happens that for the past year and change, they've been telling us how we could never get that horizontal. We can never, everything's bending all over the place. Refraction.
That was a weak ass. I think
Like-
Nathan tried to do that too this week. I thought I heard him do that.
He did. Yeah.
Hold on, let's not joke about this. This has come to a head in a major way. And yeah, I'm going to give credit to 10th Man for it. So 10th Man dubbed this the year of the Sextant, 2021, year of the Sextant. And he knew, prior to me knowing, and maybe a lot of other people watching and even on the panel, that Black Swan would tie back into this eventually because of refraction, which is to say that light that reaches your eye is deviated from straight. Now, we're talking in terms of geometric labeling when we say horizontal or horizon. Well, they're arguing that we're not achieving that in any instance ever because we have an atmosphere. And in many instances, and with citation that's easy to acquire, Globe states that with an atmosphere attached to the Earth, that would be sphere-shaped air in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, you will never see a straight line to anything ever. Therefore, you cannot acquire straight line on a globe. Now, the sextant requires straight lines. So when we put it to our opponent, how do you acquire a straight line for this tool to work? The answer, based on 21 months straight of them telling us we haven't got a straight line to the horizon. Obviously, it's refracted. You've got atmosphere. So, unless you suck out all the atmosphere, no straight lines ever. What's wrong with you, flat earther? Don't you understand refraction? Then we say, as I just mentioned, where'd you get a straight line then for this tool that requires one? And the answer is they haven't. They can't. They don't. And it isn't used in that fashion. It's used on a flat earth. And no rebuttal will ever get around that, because there's been 21 straight months of them telling us there's no straight lines to acquire. It's all refracted. That's a major problem that is literally coming to a head now. And the straw that broke that camel's back was a cum virus, who literally was arguing for the straight lines by definition that were required to use the tool. And he was asked, how do you get a straight line to the horizon for this tool to work? He said, you just look at the horizon and know that you've got a straight line to it. Well, how do you do that on a globe, given that you've spent 21 straight months telling us it's refracted? And then his head started to hurt, as did many of the globe-believing idiots that were watching at the time.
Yep. And they're coming out with some ridiculous stuff. I just seen a diagram yesterday because everyone's saying you need the 90 degrees, as Elijah would say, you need a corner pocket. And now they're making the 90-degree angle their zenith point down to them as their 90 degrees. I'm sitting, are you guys on some type of hallucinogenic drugs? You're not the GP, baltards. That's where they're making their 90-degree. Have you seen this? Has anyone seen this?
That doesn't give them 90 either.
What? Where do you have this diagram? I need to see this.
It's in the war room. I posted it in there. But hold on. Let me see if I can get it.
I saw it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And they're also redefining the horizon dip correction. They're also coming up with diagrams that show how that works on the globe.
That's correct. They've bastardized what is essentially a height correction to get you down to the sea level if you're on a boat, or the ground level. You're taking that and inserting an Al-Biruni derivation of our dip correction, which is not what you do with a sextant, but that's what they're starting to imply. And as Quantum Race has just pointed out, they're taking 90 degrees to the zenith. Like, all right, what like Al-Biruni did after he measured the height of the mountain flat? Takes a sensible horizon to his zenith, so he's got 90 degrees to get the dip angle measurement. Well, that's fascinating. However, obviously, given that Al-Biruni's taking into account how much the horizon has dipped away based on its spherical nature and geometry, that means you haven't got a straight line anymore. So, no, yeah, you can actually derive a 90 degree to your zenith, but that's useless when you need the GP of the star to be 90 degrees to that.
There it is. There it
Uncle
is.
Bubby.
Oh,
Sorry,
hold on a second, Adam. There it is, Chocolate, right on live stream. Look at this. There's where they're getting their 90, the right angle, from the position above their head. They're making themselves the GP.
What kind of buffoonery is this?
This is buffoonery on a mammoth level. This is Larry, the fantasy geodicist. See his numpty clip, by the way. It's a belly laugher. Are you a moron, sir? You're a moron. Point blank. So there you go, folks. There's his 90 degrees right above, directly above his position, out to this horizontal. And then you got two dip angles, this dip angle to the horizon, then the other dip angle. What in the world is this, sir? You clown. What? Yeah.
Horizon is in the middle of the sky. Didn't you know that?
Yeah. Unbelievable. There you go.
Can I blow a bit of smoke? Hold on, just one sec. I just want to blow a bit of smoke at Quantum Race's ass just for a second. although I've given credit to 10th Man for dubbing this the year of the Sextant, the year of the Sextant wouldn't have happened without the year of the Black Swan, which was 2020. Now, I'm going to just make this absolutely plain. Quantum Eraser laid this trap within the Black Swan. So, as much as it's frustrating to people in the aftermath as we make this clear, we've been saying this all along, Huey handpicked a picture that included bendy cranes so that you, the opponent, who are idiots, would say refraction. You didn't expect it to be so juicy that you'd say it for 21 straight months, so that when it's really cemented so solidly in your anti-flat earth rhetoric that there's no straight lines, and then when we say, "How'd you get a straight line then?" What are you going to do? Like I say, Quantum Racer knew this, and embarrassing for me 2 or 3 weeks after the Black Swan came out, I had to ask, can't you just use this picture that's further horizon with no bendy cranes and just keep saying refraction? I said like an idiot. And the reply I got from Quantum Eraser was, that's what I want them to say. That's the end of their argument. As soon as they say refraction, their geometry dies. That's the end of their claim. I'm like, oh yeah, don't I feel stupid? Well, I might have felt stupid 3 weeks into the Black Swan. But 21 months into the Black Swan, we're definitely cemented in your rebuttal now, aren't we, fundies? It's refracted, right? I'm pretty sure we didn't miss what you told us in response. So where'd you get a straight line? Oh yeah, you don't, do you? So just another shout out to Quantum Eraser. This domino effect wouldn't have happened in the first place if it wasn't for Quantum Eraser's very careful thought in terms of the argument. It was structured in such a way that this would happen. It was just, we were taking bets on when it would happen and the penny would drop that by saying refraction, you're destroying your own claim. We just didn't expect 21 months for it to be a point that we could make it with this Sextant argument, where it's so glaringly obvious because in argument, as was found out by a cum virus, when you're asked for a straight line, having spent 21 months telling everyone that it's refracted, you haven't got one anymore, which is a big problem if you're a Fundy Globe believer.
It's so devious, isn't it? You got to be.
Like I say, I felt stupid when I asked. Because when you explained it to me, no, I need them to say refraction because that is the death nail. That's the last nail in the coffin. That's the end of the argument.
Yep.
Because as soon as they say that by geometry, their claim is a geometric claim. There's a claim we've got geometric physical obstruction to things in the distance, and there's a drop value based on that geometry, dependent on the horizon being Earth curve. Well, that physical geometric claim goes to hell as soon as you say refracted. It's absolutely genius.
Well, thank you.
And it got worse, and they started to ask us why in the hell would we expect to see this thing that's been blocking boats and buildings for years and years.
Yeah. Just to let everyone know, just for the record, as soon as the Black Swan codified, about a microsecond later, the Sextant popped into my mind, right? And I started snickering to myself. Now, I myself never use a sextant. I'm not a squid. I'm a landlubber. I was an army guy. But I understood the concept behind it. And one of those days, it was shortly after the Black Swan, we were all in a meeting, and 10th Man was in there, and I said, Sextant. And I couldn't see him, but I could tell because there was silence. And then I knew it got his attention, and I knew it was the end. He was going to chew that bone until there was nothing left to it. So shout out to 10th. You ballers are dead. It's been over for a long time, ever since 2015. Essentially, we all know this. But you're twice and 3 times dead. It's like shooting hippos in a fishbowl now. So thank you very much, and you're welcome.
Brian wanted to get something in, I think, just before I'm going to segue us back into the presentation, hopefully. But Brian, did you want to add something?
Well, what I was going to add has changed now because the conversation has moved on. But I'll mix in the both of them. So the Larry Scott diagram, right? Larry Scott, who's a acclaimed geodetic surveyor, and this diagram I shared last night
Numpty.
which is from Ruhif, right? Both of those are excluding as much as possible. If you look at them correctly, they're excluding as much as possible a geometric globe horizon, because they're doing their best to make everything as flat and straight, and to ignore the horizon. They're bringing a tangent to things, and it's an absolute disaster, because they're trying to deal with a horizon dip correction that they can't deal with. So consequently, they're having to do all kinds of geometric trickery to try and make the horizon dip correction happen without it actually happening.
Horizon dip
Because
correction, there's no 90. They have no GP except over their head.
Yeah, but the horizon dip correction, as soon as they put the horizon dip correction onto the how can they put that onto a curved surface?
They can't,
It's an
and they don't have a
excellent point.
90, so they can't even get that far. It's dead 5 steps before that.
Hold on. Let
Can I
Brian make
address that?
this. Hold on. I want Brian to make his point more concisely, because it's a very, very, very good point. What Brian's just said is, as soon as they do the dip correction, what does that change in terms of what you're performing? Performing pure geometry once you do that correction. And I want Brian to reiterate it, because it's a really good point.
Yeah, the reason for the horizon dip correction is it takes it away from the optical and brings it down to the geometric. So as soon as they try to put the vertex of their angle onto a sphere, then that means they have a straight line going off out into outer space. So that's why they're trying to put a tangent line onto a sphere and make a vertex at one end of the tangent line and all kinds of other nonsense. That's the problem. They have to make it geometric, you have to bring it to the surface. And that's what the horizon dip correction does. And how are they going to put a vertex, which would be the horizon dip correction, onto their sphere? They can't.
Indeed. Perfect way to round out that little section, and hopefully you haven't added enough to make my segue not make sense. So, first things first, the black swan is a globe killer, something that has been stressed by Mitchell from Australia on his recent shows. A flat earth proof, globe killer. Sextant, definitely a flat earth proof. And a globe killer, wonderful. Neither are scientific evidence. To segue into today's presentation, I'm going to use a story that the person I'm going to refer to probably hates me for referencing him. But there we go. Spurs Chemo several years ago found out that we were asking people for their independent and dependent variables when getting into wrangle-dangles about debates in terms of the nature of our reality. And as a consequence, Spurs would go around asking people, well, what's your independent variable? Well, what's the experiment for the black swan, for example? Now, an understanding of what would have a reasonable request for an independent variable? Well, a claim of scientific evidence. That might come in various different forms by various different words or uses of various different language. You can't just go around demanding people provide you with an experiment or provide you with an independent variable just because they've made a claim about something. First, you must establish, are they actually implying or directly or overtly stating that this is somehow scientific? Might be by the word experiment, might be by the word hypothesis, depending on if the context of the conversation is scientifically geared, because it could be a colloquial hypothesis without it being a reasonable, justified request to ask them for an independent variable, even though they've used that word. I just want people who have been paying attention to the last couple of Ballbusters, certainly, to realise that this is a sharp knife, very sharp. But if you pick it up by the blade, you're going to take your own fingers off and look very silly in the process. Understanding when a scientific claim has actually been made for you to ask for the scientific method process to be applied to it, and in the process take that apart, you've got to know if a scientific claim's actually been made in the first place, so you don't look silly by asking for an independent variable. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Quantum Eraser, illustrious host, hopefully give you a wonderful presentation, part B, as it's the second part. Check out Last Ballbusters if you want to see the first, on science and the scientific method. Over to you, Quantum Eraser.
Thank you, sir. Yep, part A was like 18.
Elijah,
Say again.
Can you just ruin my segue completely?
Yeah,
Of
he
course you
did.
can.
Elijah's been on mute and he's been given out about it.
His mic was backfeeding, so that's why he's
Okay, I'm just relaying it. Just relaying the message. We're just joking in
Thank you.
in Skype.
Okay, without I can edit all of that out when I publish this. So, without further ado, over to our illustrious host, Quantum Eraser, for a part B of the presentation on science and the scientific method. Like it never happened.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, like I was saying, before I get it on here, I think it was 8 or 10 weeks ago we did part A. Sorry about that. I had to go on vacation. We won't get into that. We're not going to do a review. If you want to find out what we did in part A, you've heard it a number of times. If anyone's new, just hit up the science education playlist, and you're in like Flint. But what I do want to say is, and what I do want to stress, since it's my scientific method now, the scientific method distinguishes science from other forms of explanation because of its requirement of systematic experimentation. That is, without this, you don't have this. So, without experimentation, you don't have science. Period. End of story. To have an experiment, you need a hypothesis. To have at least a 50% viable scientific hypothesis, you need the first step of the scientific method. Observe a natural phenomena. So, essentially, the scientific method, everyone's been saying that, QE scientific method, his 4-step method, his 6-step method. No, it's 3. There are 3 indispensable steps of the scientific method. All the actual science disciplines use these 3 steps, right? I don't care what else you put around them. You can put a whole bunch of flowers and gummy bears around it, but you must have natural phenomena observed. You must have the hypothesis, and you must have validated experiment. End of story. Hope everyone understands it. It's that easy. So let's talk a little bit about the first step. This is pretty important. Like I said, 50% of the hypothesis of your hypothesis comes from this first step. It's your dependent variable. So from Kristen McClellan, The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method, the first process in the scientific method, you see how it says the scientific method, and not the scientific methods or the first processes. I think ballers, you need a class in singular versus plural. That would probably help you from train wrecking yourself. But I digress. The first process in the scientific method involves the observation of a phenomena. Yeah, you must have that. That's where the dependent variable comes from. That's what leads you into discovery of cause and effect. You must have that. From the University of Rochester Physics Labs, the scientific method, here we go. They have 4 steps. I don't have 4 steps. It's 3 steps. Doesn't really matter. Number 1, observation and description of a phenomena. Got an echo here. I wonder why. Well, why you need the dependent variable. The effect. So now build your hypothesis, which you need the independent variable, but we'll get to that on another day. So what is a natural phenomena? What is a natural observation? Turns out this is defined. From radford.edu. Naturalistic observation. Observation of behavior in a more or less natural setting without any attempt to intervene. The situation is not manipulated or controlled by the investigator, and the situation has not been initiated or created by the investigator. Why? Well, we want to have it natural, right? This is a stumbling block for a lot of people, mainly brain-dead ballers. They have a hard time with this term natural. I don't understand it. I think it's second-grade self-evident, right? From Niels Bohr, no phenomena is a phenomena unless it is an observed phenomena. Well, where do we get that from? Well, that's the first step of the scientific method. Funny how all this dovetails with each other. It's not Science buddies ask a question. That's not the first step of the scientific method. Any fool can ask a question, right? Are baltards morons? That's a question. Is that viable in the scientific method? No. So let's not ask a question. Get it? Probably not. It's not observe concrete nouns like trees, rocks, or shoes. Those aren't effects. Those are concrete nouns. Dependent variables are effects. The natural phenomena observed has to be an effect. It has to be an action. Something happening, an occurrence, a circumstance. And it's definitely not conjure phenomena. Black holes, dark matter, multiverses, or singularities, and you can go on and on. Right? You can't do that. Right? You didn't observe the natural phenomena, so it's not going to fit. You're going to come crashing down at hypothesis. But we'll get into it. We're going to get into experiment and hypothesis on another day. I want to concentrate on this because, like I said, this is a real stumbling block, mainly for brain-dead baltards. They just don't seem to get this part. So, natural. What is that? So, from Merriam-Webster, natural, the natural world. All of the animals, plants, and other things existing in nature and not made or caused by people. I think I knew this. I didn't have to go into the definitions of this. I think I knew this when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. I could tell the difference between something natural and something synthetic or man-made or artificial. We'll get into that here in a couple minutes. There's clear delineations here. So from Oxford Dictionary's natural, existing in or derived from nature, not made or caused by humankind. Sounds like an echo, doesn't it? From vocabulary.com, natural, something that comes from nature rather than being made or being man-made. You see the juxtaposition. It's got nature on one side and man-made on the other. There's a clear distinction, juxtaposition, and delineation there. And that's for a reason, because they're different. From Cambridge, natural, from nature, not artificial or involving anything man-made or caused by people. This is, I don't know what else to do here. You guys tell me on how you want me to differentiate this. I don't know. It's one of those well does to me. Baltards, you're toast. You see, the antonym for natural is synthetic, right? Antonym meaning the opposite. So what is synthetic? From Merriam-Webster, man-made. That's what it is. Manufactured, created, or constructed by human beings. Specifically synthetic. From Nielsen, Peter, from natural, synthetic, artificial, DNA, PNA, and xeno, NA, or XNA. Listen closely. As in all scientific communication, precise language is essential for giving and receiving messages correctly. That right there is an important statement by itself. We went over why in part A. All right? Precise language. Language must be precise in science. Thus, artificial would generally mean something not found in nature, and synthetic would mean something that is man-made. To make a chemistry analogy, chemically synthesized B12 vitamin would not be considered artificial as it is chemically, analytically, and functionally indistinguishable from naturally isolated B12 vitamin. But it is not natural either. That means obtained from nature. It is synthetic. Get it? It's a darn shame that I would have to go over this. Right? I do this as a courtesy for new flat earthers out there. So what I'm trying to say, we're going to get here into more delineation so you can see it better. That this is a slam dunk. Well, duh. Right? Even their pseudoscience priests know the difference. They don't. So they're ad hoc, feebly conjured, made-up bollocks. The only choices are natural or supernatural. Is belly laughed and pummeled into the incoherent oblivion. You see, what these numpties do is they made this plan together, right? And whenever flat earthers come within earshot, they'll bring up some object and say, is this supernatural? A baseball? Right? That's what they'll do. And they'll train wreck themselves. Because they say that there are only two choices. Supernatural and natural. Well, if it's not supernatural, then it must be natural. Right? That's I'm speechless. I don't get it. Point of order, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Like I said, the difference between natural and synthetic can be reconciled in less than 2 friggin' seconds by any semi-coherent third grader. Not with baltards. They can't do it. So now that we've identified 2 categories, natural and synthetic. Oh, by the way, artificial is underneath synthetic. Right? Artificial. An ice sculpture is artificial. Something like something carved out of wood is artificial. That's the difference. It's still man-made. It's just a subcategory under synthetic. Are there any commonalities between these two? Each has one or more of the following: chemical formula or structure, charge, matter, momentum, or spin, millielectron volts, kcals, or kilojoules. You see these categories? This is what they call matter or energy. All right? Everyone's got that. The actual situation is not a dichotomy. It's a trichotomy. That's where they screw up when they hatch their plan. And then when they spring their plan on unsuspecting people who can fog a mirror, and they get jacked yard. The ballers do. The actual situation, like I said, is a trichotomy. It's natural versus synthetic versus supernatural. That is, everything that exists in our reality, can fit in these 3 categories. Anything you bring up, we can put it in one of these 3 categories. So natural, as we already went over above, all the animals, plants, and other things existing in nature and not made or caused by people. Synthetic is anything man-made. Supernatural, super means above. So it's above the natural. That is, it's immaterial. It's without matter or energy. And you say, oh, what the heck is that? Well, we have a bunch of things that are supernatural that exist in this reality. Why? Information, time, and thoughts. You can't give me chemical formula or structure, charge, matter, or momentum, or spin, or millielectron volts, kcals, or kilojoules for any of these 3. But they exist. Follow? I thought you might. Physical and natural. That's trees, water, light, frogs, and sulfur. Man-made Cheerios, barbecue grills, shoes, headphones, and Indy cars. I'm going to camp out right here. I always like to camp out here just to rub it in and just to stop. Maybe people have some comments that they want to share. So, floor is open.
Yeah, for me, it's so important to know when to use the application of science, the method, because it is just a method. And we homeschool, so we've got 3 kids homeschooling at the moment, and they ask me constantly. They see ads on TV like for an Energizer battery for tires that claims scientifically it's been proven to be better than something else. They say, Dad, is this really science? And I say, well, what is it? What is science? Is the physical and natural world. Can you show me a natural battery or a natural tire? And that's the end of that scientific evidence. It is not scientific if it is not physical and natural.
Is mass a naturally observed phenomenon?
No, Brian, we're not getting into mass today.
I'm just asking the question.
Mass is undefined. At best, it's a concept.
Back off your mic 2 inches, QE. When you're getting excited, you're popping your mic.
I don't know
yeah,
about you guys. I'm just listening to the show on my natural Samsung Galaxy Note.
Hold on, that's perfectly reasonable. Did a man make it? Because men are natural.
But that's how they think.
Yep. Oh man,
Point
made
of
it.
this is to summarize the difference. You've got synthetic, that would be to have been made by man, and you've got natural. But you've also got supernatural, which is what we're going to get into in the next part of the presentation. But so far, I think the thing QE might be looking for, hint, hint, is are we all clear? It seems like a stupid question. Do we all understand the difference between a man making something and something being natural? Are we all good with this?
Yeah, and I'm glad that he made the that he told us that it was a false dichotomy between natural and supernatural, because it's actually synthetic being the antithesis, and that's kind of what they try to do with pseudoscience. So they'll just ask me, "So you think that fake knowledge makes sense?" And I'm like, no, but there's a such thing as false knowledge. So
Well, sorry, I thought you were finished.
no, yeah, that was
Well,
it.
I think. Okay, thanks. I think the only important question for any claims coming from our opposition side is, where do I observe your dependent variable in nature? Because if they can't show you that, then they don't have a dependent variable. Not for natural science.
Right, that's what
What
distinguishes.
use is false knowledge?
Confusion.
Yeah. I know that if I put my hand in this glass of water, it won't make me levitate. It's good to know. Oh,
Alrighty then. We're
Cool.
won't
I'm
levitate.
curious.
Just go back to Brian's point a second, which is to say, the step one is where we're at now in terms of, well, what would be the problem with step one, dependent variable observation of natural phenomena being something man-made? What's the inherent problem with that? Anybody at all? Not rhetorical.
Well, it's a cause and effect relationship.
Sorry, Mitchell.
I was just detailing that it's a cause and effect relationship. So if you've got something that is man-made, you don't need to inquire what the cause is anymore. The man has made it. No scientific inquiry needed.
Precisely. If you've got a man-made effect, an explosion that's been created by a man, you go, oh, I wonder what caused that. Well, a man made it. So you know the cause. You don't need to put it through the method. You already know what caused it.
Yes, this is a very difficult subject for the ballers. They try to straw man this to death. You'd figure after 5 years, after me repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again, that they'd figure it out. And we're going to get into this here in a minute. That, you see, they said, well, the experiments, the equipment that you use in the experiments man-made, so you can't do experiments. Are you friggin' retarded? Ballers. That's rhetorical. We're going to get into that right now. See, the point is, and they've just went over it.
You starting up your presentation again?
Yes.
Back off your mic,
I had
just when you say
I had a
ballers.
trick question.
Hold on, just before Arwin goes. When you said ballers, you popped your mic.
Oh, God.
Trying to...
Sue me. Am I good? Am I good?
Yeah, that was much better.
I'm better now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the point that we were just talking about, the one that I reiterated, we're going to reiterate again. So listen up. The point is, no synthetic man-made object can enter the scientific method as the observed natural phenomena, the dependent variable, the effect. Because every cause, like was just mentioned by Mitchell, of man-made effects is, wait for it, frigging man. So the moral
I
of
did have a flippant question on this, John,
So
before
did
you move
I.
on.
Go ahead.
We're going to have to deal with this, QE.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to say Arwin first, then Adam, then we are going to get back to the presentation. Go ahead, Arwin.
Okay, am I coming through loud and clear?
Yes, definitely.
All right, all right. So my trick question is, so what if a man makes a computer robot assembly device that could make an object by its own self-made design? It wouldn't be man-made because the man made the object that then made another object, and that object wouldn't be man-made.
It would.
Let me
Yeah, it would. Let me
respond
just
before.
stress out and then we go to Adam. Hold on. Right.
Yeah.
You're applying an infinite regress fallacy to whether or not something's man-made or synthetic. Yeah, it is synthetic. Just because a man made the machine doesn't mean if the machine suddenly got your hypothetical sentience, that it doesn't mean the machine wasn't man-made first. Man made the machine makes something else. It doesn't mean that what the machine made is natural. That's just kicking the can down the road. Adam, go ahead.
All right.
There are points to this. I think both me and Arwin are triggered for the same reason, and I'd like to draw this distinction, probably in a crude way. My dog farts, right, and I can science that. There are ways of applying certain bits of science to it. Can I science that?
Oh, I thought I was going to thank you for that, and then we were going to move on.
Let me finish, because the point I'm making is the term man-made is correct. It's not means it doesn't involve man, and man doesn't is involved in the natural world. It's things that men construct, or mankind constructs. That's the issue, not a function of man as well. That was my only. It's a subtle distinction, but I think it needs to be made when you.
The problem is you've raising more questions than you're answering. I mean, if the guy, if you went up to your dog and gave it a little squeeze, right, would that still be natural?
No. Yes, some of it would be, but the point of ejection, or the primary cause for ejection, would probably be gastric constriction caused by man at that point. But we could science some of the other stuff. Yeah. You could actually science that bit because there's a bit of gas pressure at play there. So but the point being is that the underlying cause there, in that case, is man. You caused it.
That's wrong.
I'm trying to separate the two. That's what I'm saying, from more biological.
Rare occasion, rare chance to actually correct something. No, what you'd be doing if you squeezed the dog, if you said natural phenomena would be the dog passing gas, right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right. Well, then you went on to describe the cause of that gastric constriction. You said, well, that would be a cause. Well, if you've manipulated what you assume to be the cause by squeezing the dog, actually you're performing an experiment.
Well, that's when I said you could science it with regards to containment of gas pressure. But the reason dogs fart isn't because humans squeeze them. Is what
This is out of hand, man. You compromised. Remember this? Oh, I don't have it up. 1 second. All right. Remember when we went over what a natural observed phenomena was? Let me read it again to you. Naturalistic observation. Observation of behavior in a more or less natural setting without any attempt to intervene. The situation is not manipulated or controlled by the investigator, number one. Number two, the situation has not been initiated or created by the investigator. You just compromise those.
No, because in the natural world, humans squeeze dogs. It's natural.
I have to disagree. You induced the effect there. So you weren't the observer. You were the inducer. So you were involved. So I'm with quantum eraser on this.
You damn, the 5A, you inducer, you.
You are correct up until the point, unless you want to say after that squeeze, that little cuddle that naturally occurs between master and dog, yeah? After that point, you can science what happens after there. But you've applied pressure. So you can then talk about gas pressure and its containment and natural effects and shape of the digestive system and how that affects gas flow and pressure. So you could science it after that fact, but fundamentally, it wouldn't be Well, it would be natural because, like I say, loving your dog is natural.
Yeah, but dogs
I,
squeeze themselves
Yeah,
at
yeah,
times.
but
It
that's-
is
Right,
a
let's stop.
natural
Please, Art,
occurring
please.
behavior.
Please. Right, Brian's been the voice of reason for the second time on the show. Yeah, he's right. It's not a naturally occurring phenomenon unless you've watched it occurring naturally. That's the bottom line here, and QE's defined it a moment ago. So can we dispense with the nonsense, funny though
Have
it
you
is
ever
now?
tried this? Have you ever seen a dog try to go through a cat, like a cat hole in a door, and they almost fit? Yeah, they will squeeze themselves.
Natural phenomena of dogs getting caught in cat flaps. Okay, let's move on.
I had another comment to that, but I'll just let this one go. So everyone understands. Listen, all experiments have man-made devices in them. That's what makes them experiments. Okay. The key point is that the dependent variable, the natural observed phenomena, the effect for which you're trying to find the cause for, cannot be man-made. It cannot be synthetic or artificial. Because, like Mitchell from Australia said before, you already know the cause, right? It's actually non sequitur. It's a belly laugh and non sequitur fallacy. No, that's the game. I've been saying it for 5 years now. They still haven't got it. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but we won't get into that. Number 2, physics, that is quantum mechanics, chemistry, biochemistry, genetics, and biology. Now, I did italicize chemistry and biology for a reason. They are not the natural sciences, right? They are the natural sciences, not the synthetic sciences. Sorry about that. I got sidetracked here. I wanted to stop at chemistry and biology for an important point. Much of chemistry is synthetic chemistry. Just want you to know. There's a part of it that it's natural, but there's a major part that's synthetic. So be very careful with chemistry and biology. That's all I wanted to point out here. So make sure you're doing natural science, not synthetic sciences. So essentially is what I'm saying is pay attention to detail. Every single claim, you need to be hyper-focused, hyper-specific. No hand waves here, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater or including the baby with the bathwater. Each claim on its own merits has to be evaluated, is what I'm stressing here. Okay? Just be very careful with chemistry and biology. Number 3, natural science deals with the natural world, which is evaluated via the scientific method. That is hypothesis testing or experiment. That is the goal. Now, how do we get to that goal? Like I said, to have an experiment, you must have a hypothesis. To have a hypothesis, you must have naturally observed phenomena. And remember, from the University of Rochester Physics Labs, the scientific method, QE scientific method, I got to get with Professor Wolf's. He needs to put QE in there. So QE scientific method distinguishes science from other forms of explanation because of its requirement of systematic experimentation. What they're trying to say is, what Professor Wolf's is saying is, to have this or to have this, you must have that. It's required. Without this, you don't have that. That simple. Do we want to stop here real quick? Any questions or comments there?
From me, I don't have any. Anybody else on the panel got any questions?
Well, what Kiwi is saying basically is vitamin C intake through eating an orange is natural, whereas vitamin C intake through vitamin C tablets is synthetic.
I don't know that I was particularly saying that, but you have synthetic vitamins and you have natural vitamins, yes.
Well, I don't want to speak for you, but I just
nylon.
wanted to.
I
Go
think that's a confusing one to use as the exemplar. I think
Example for what?
Natural and synthetic.
What's the point?
I'd stick something like nylon in if I was going to give an example of synthetic sciences. So sciences that are synthetic in their nature, but I think vitamins can be a bit confusing.
No, you have some synthetic vitamins and you have naturally occur. I just went over that in the main identification or delineation between natural and synthetic. So that's fine. There's no confusion there. Depends on your question. We're going to get to that here in a second. Good. We'll get to it right now then. Let's keep it simple. We got a two-step algo. Step one, if you think something's science, this is what you got to ask yourself. Is the inquiry concerning nature or a man-made object? If it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. You just drop it. If it's A, you continue to step two. Step two, is the inquiry cause and effect how, why question or what is question? If it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. If it's A, then proceed to the first step of the scientific method. That's the simplest algo I can come up with. It follows, it makes sense, it's stepwise, and highly intuitive, I think. Remember, scientific hypothesis, we need that to get to the king. Experiment. You can't get to an experiment without a hypothesis because an experiment is a hypothesis test. So the scientific hypothesis, like I said, is your experiment statement. It expresses a testable proposed cause and effect relationship. The phenomena that was observed in step one, and it has your dependent variable in it. Now you're creating a predictional supposition with your independent variable. That's what a hypothesis is. It's as simple as that. It's not anything else. From Sean Carroll, California Institute of Technology physicist Sean Carroll, arguing in The Edge that hypotheses aren't simply useful tools in some potentially outmoded vision of science. They are the whole point. So, even one of the king pseudoscientists in the world, at least he got this right. He's correct. They're the whole point. Because without that, you can't get to the experiment. You need the hypothesis. So all this talk about the scientific method doesn't exist and it's QE scientific method and you can do whatever you want. The scientific method that doesn't exist is idiosyncratic. No. You need the hypothesis. That it's a must-have. And a scientific hypothesis has a specific meaning. It's not an amoeba or an orangutan. From Lowell C., Becoming a Successful Scientist. Cambridge University Press. A scientific hypothesis is based on cause and effect reasoning. A scientific hypothesis does not merely state X and Y may be related, but explains why they are related. From Drexel.edu. The scientific method is hypothesis-driven. Duh. One makes an educated guess to explain a cause and effect relationship. The educated guess part is the independent variable. It's your predictional supposition. It's not just you. If I ask you what's a scientific hypothesis and you say a guess, I'm going to slap you. It's not just a guess. From Anne-Marie Helmstein, PhD Biomedical Sciences, a hypothesis is an educated guess based on observation. It's a prediction of cause and effect. You see, it has more parts to the definition than just a guess or an educated guess. If you give me just a guess, that's incomplete, therefore it's wrong. Just that simple. Scientific hypothesis again from Colorado State. Scientific hypothesis, a special kind of prediction that forecasts how the independent variable will affect the dependent variable. Too easy. From the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. In an experiment, the independent variable is a variable that is varied or manipulated by the researcher. The dependent variable is the response that is measured. An independent variable is the presumed cause, whereas the dependent variable is the presumed effect. The IV is the antecedent, whereas the DV is the consequent. Very simple, very easy to understand. Okay? We're going to get more into the nuts and bolts of scientific hypotheses in the next science presentation, part C. So, let's take a look at a couple examples here. Are these valid scientific inquiries? That is, valid scientific hypotheses. These are actual ones that I heard ballers say, so I just wrote them down and put them in the presentation. So, Globe-Tard Goober number 1. We want to study whether salmon go back to the same spot they spawned from. So, remember the two-step algo. Let's apply it to this statement. Step 1 is the inquiry concerning A, nature, or B, man-made object. Remember how I said if it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. If it's A, continue to step 2. Now, what's this talking about? Salmon. Now, do man make salmon? No. So this is a natural inquiry. It passed that first step. Step 2 is the inquiry A, cause and effect, how I question, or B, a what is question. We want to study whether salmon go back to the same spot they spawned from. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a what is question. It's B. Can't fit in the scientific method. That is not a viable scientific hypothesis. Like I said here, if it's B, then it isn't valid at all. 0. You're done. So, Globe-Tard Goober, I forget who said this. I think it was Jake on the plane, if I'm not mistaken. So, Jake, you're an empty dipshit. You'd fail 5th grade general science. Does everyone understand? We'll circle back. I only got one more. Globe-Tard Goober number 2. A, do people get cancer? And B, do dogs get cancer? Back to dogs again, your favorite 5A, Adam. B, do dogs get cancer like human beings get cancer? So we got 2 examples here. All right. Do people get cancer? Let's go through the algo. Is the inquiry concerning nature or B, a man-made object? Cancer. Does man make cancer? No. It's a natural process. If it's B, then it isn't a valid scientific inquiry. So we can get rid of that one, right? Step 2, is the inquiry A, cause and effect, how I question, or B, a what is question? Do people get cancer? Is that a cause and effect, how I question, or a what is question? What is question? So it's done. Let's go with B. Do dogs get cancer like human beings get cancer? Again, it's a natural phenomenon, right? We have no problems with step 1. Step 2, is the inquiry a cause and effect, how I question, or B, a what is question? We have another what is question, right? This is not a cause and effect, how I question. Therefore, it's invalid as a scientific hypothesis. See how I did that? Pretty easy. Questions and comments on this. I think this is pretty important.
It's a good little, call it, process.
Yes, it's an algo.
Algo. Yeah, it's good. You know, it's simple and it's perfect for people who are like, okay, what do I need to actually apply here in order to ascertain whether or not I'm dealing with a scientific question or not? In this case, the person's literally postulating that this could or couldn't be science. Am I right in the context? Is the person actually asking Quantum Eraser? Are they saying, is this science? Or are they just postulating a question and then you're just pulling it apart for whether or not it's science? Tap. Hang on.
Hello?
Temporarily lost Quantum Eraser. I'll just go around the panel finding out if everyone else understands what's been
I
explained.
can speak for him again if you want. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You've been the voice of reason so far, Brian. Go ahead.
I wasn't listening to the last section enough, so I can't speak on it. Sorry about that.
That is not what I wanted to be confessed to on the first round.
Yeah, you might as well go for it because that's the last part of the presentation for today.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I should have I should have said something, but I didn't. I had something else on my mind. Sorry about that. I had to get up and check on something. But yep, that's the last part.
Well, in that case, I think it's only appropriate that you go down the panel taking people off mute, asking them about their opinion on things, so I don't have to.
Is that what you think I should do?
I think so. I think it's only reasonable.
Well, hell, then I'll let me do it then. All right, we got almost exactly. How's it going, sir? Floor is yours.
Yeah, all good, all good. How's everybody doing? Great show as always. I was in the chat earlier, in the main chat, and yeah, I was discussing the scientific method. And yeah, with one of the Globers who was asking, is throwing a ball and watching it fall down, is that a natural phenomenon? See, they get mixed up with the steps, right? They move on to the, well, in their case, or in this case, the experiment, and then ask if it's a natural phenomenon, right? They skip steps, and that's the most important bit, is to first, yeah, step one, observe a natural phenomenon. And you have to take them through the steps, but they still don't get it. Yeah, it's a hard process.
Right.
Nicholson, you're talking about
he missed that
Nicholson,
first part.
Morley, and
Sorry.
it's my bad, Chocolate. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, he answered his question with the first part of his statement: is throwing a ball and then watching it fall to the ground, is that natural? Did he skip the part of the throwing the ball? Right?
Who made the ball?
Why is the ball
Yeah,
falling?
Who threw it?
He threw the ball.
Yep,
It's,
that's the whole point.
it's
QE
like
was
they
trying to
debunk
also get
themselves in
across.
their own statement most of the time. I've realized that now.
Exactly. When they say, "Oh, the experiment," you have man-made things in your experiment. They're not realizing the steps, right? They're skipping steps, and they're not understanding the importance of observing a natural phenomenon and then trying to figure out the cause, right?
Like you said it before, right? You're gonna have man-made things in the experiment. That's what makes it an experiment. You're the one that's gonna do it, right? You need things to do it. But the phenomenon that you're studying itself can't be man-made, because then you know it's made by a man. It's pretty simple. These guys, they just do this. I mean, this is the same reason they tell us now science doesn't prove things anyway, right? Because they don't have any. And they don't even understand the science that they do have. It's crazy.
Hey, I got it. I'm going to take umbrage to a chat message. I usually don't do this, folks, but I want to bring this up. It's by Cosell, and you can read it up top here. Let's see if it's coming through. Yes. This is what we are learning in Chem 110 this semester. Clearly not QE scientific method. I take umbrage with that, sir. It is my scientific method. So I don't know what you're going to do. Get in touch with them and get them tight. Who is this? Evaldo J. Tro? He better start troing the line. My method. And that's it. Carry on.
Almost exactly saying that they start off with a. I'm going to rephrase his point. They start off with an experiment. In other words, they'll confuse you by asking you to justify the results of an experiment. And again, you use the same moniker. What's step one? Oh yeah, observe natural phenomena. If it turns out that what they're claiming is an experiment, which is way down the line in the method, as step one, in other words, the thing that they're asking you to justify occurs only in the apparatus, and they're utilizing what they call an experiment as a natural phenomena. This includes, but is not limited to, things like Michelson, Morley, and Cavendish. Like what's the phenomena we're studying? Spinning things and weights, and what is actually occurring in nature that we're actually trying to figure out the cause of here? Torsion bar twist. Where does that occur in nature? Obviously, there's not a natural phenomena to observe, but they've hijacked the method, called it an experiment, and then are taking some man-made gizmo and calling it a natural phenomena that suddenly you need to science. It just simply isn't the case. So yeah, almost exactly. I'm going to elaborate on your point and say that they take the word experiment, sort of step 3 in a very simplistic method, call it the phenomena, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The only time they did have a natural phenomenon, they determined that the Earth was rotating. If you think, so
Hey, I'd like to
that's what
shout
they
out
did with
to-
a natural phenomenon.
I'd like to shout out. Sorry about that, Brian. I'd like to shout out a couple super chats. They might have been there for a while. I haven't checked. Sorry about that, guys. From Tony Wickham. Hey, sir, how's it going? He says a USA Senate said the other day that science is not using the scientific method at all anymore, and it's being lost in theoretical science. Really? Who said that? Was it some senator? I would suspect. Go ahead and message me that, man. I think I missed that one. And Vlad on the Flat Earth. Thanks, QE. What you do is much appreciated. You're very welcome, Vlad. All right. Sorry about that, Brian. Go ahead.
No, I didn't have much to say. Just saying that the one time they did have a natural phenomenon to observe, which was the apparent motion of the stars above us in the sky, they determined the Earth was rotating. So that's what they even deal with a natural phenomenon. Not that they could experiment with that, but they decided the Earth was rotating.
Hey, can I just add something to what basically like the super chat you just read, John?
Yes, go ahead.
It's funny that we go through a lot of these things with science and the scientific method because that word is being tossed around a lot now because of all the shit that's going on all over the place. I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
involving all that shit. So that word is being thrown around a lot. And it's just funny that we talk about this all the time. It's just interesting to hear how there are some people like that guy that got shouted out that are recognizing scientific method and how, because that's what it's being used as a weapon now. It's like, oh, we have the science, so just do this because we tell you because there's science, and then they have no science for it. It's I don't know. It's interesting. It's crazy actually how it's being weaponized right now by clowns who have no idea what science is. In the outside, we're outside of this subject, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So it all relates.
Yep. Yes, sir. Is that all you got? Almost exactly. Any concerns,
Yep.
questions?
No, I'm good.
Arwen.
Yes, sir.
Yep. No, you, sir. Any insights into the scientific method? I remember back in the day, Arwen, you had a big problem with man-made stuff within the experiment. Do you remember that? I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying I just remember it.
Yeah, of course. Yes. But that's because back then I didn't really understand the spirit of the scientific method, what it was about. So I had a very materialistic view on the whole process instead of understanding like what phenomenon really is all about. So yeah, it was kind of tough to swallow it as first because it's just another way of thinking. It's like philosophy speak, but very serious, very correct, and you have to be on target with everything. But I didn't fully grip it back in the day. That's true.
I remember the specific example that you brought up was a thermometer.
Right.
Remember that?
I thought that just because you use man-made devices, man-constructed devices in an experiment,
Yep.
that would make it illegitimate, not understanding that that specific thing only applies to the phenomenon in question.
Precisely. You got it. Yep. Exactly. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Cool. See, a real life. It was a real life lesson, right? For everyone. I had just briefly gone over that just a few minutes ago. That's really important. Brian.
Hey, sorry about that. I didn't expect to be called. Yeah, I should have been watching. Arwen, then me. Well, it's very simple. It comes down to what's known in the scientific method as your dependent variable. For all the lay people out there, that's just a naturally observed phenomenon. So if anyone is telling you they have an experiment, ask them for the naturally observed phenomenon that was the basis of their experiment, and ask them where you can observe it. And if they can't show you that, then they don't have an experiment. They have a made-up thing.
Precisely.
Thanks, Kiwi.
Precisely, Brian. Precisely. Start right off. Don't go to step B, step C, or step 4, step 5. Start right there. What is your dependent variable? That's exactly what you do. Couldn't said it any better myself.
Thank you.
Chocolate. Oh, chocolate. Elijah.
Yeah. It wasn't hard for me to understand this because I didn't know anything about any of this. Yeah, I fell asleep in science class. And so for me, this was a learning opportunity, which was why I was quiet for a long time, because I had to educate myself. So I saw arguments play out on both sides. And when the citations were provided, I had to look through everything and go, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Okay. And thank you guys. That's all.
Appreciate it, Elijah. Mitchell.
Yeah, thanks, QE. It's presentations like this that I find so educational because, as I said, we homeschool here at home. We've got 3 of our five kids educated at home, and I understand the scientific method. And the way I can describe it to them, I could go on for hours and hours. But it's presentations like this that makes it so concise that we can teach children this sort of. You've developed like a flow chart. If it's this, then go to here. If it's not, and go to here. It's these concise way of putting the whatever it is that we're inquiring into, this being the scientific method. Making it concise is not only good for educating children, it's good for concisely summarizing how things are not science, especially on the globe side. And that's what I get out of it so much. You can use it with educating children, and you can use it with just debunking a claim of science, and that's really important.
Cool. Thanks, Mitchell. Our new member of the BALLBUSTERS team, Mitchell from Australia. Neil. Hopefully
Yes,
you're not.
sir.
Hopefully you're not driving.
No, stationary.
Oh.
Excellent. Keep it coming. Scientific method.
Thanks, man. Observing humans. Are you observing humans right now?
You talking to me?
No. Observing humans. He's beneath you. That's his screen name. All right. He's stonewalling us. Phoenix Rising 86. Floor is yours, sir. Questions, comments, concerns? Don't be shy. Rams. Questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I love the simplicity of the scientific method, and just how narrow it is actually what gives it its value, and it's why some of the ballers hate it so much, is because it makes what they want to do fairy tales and impossible to do within the method. So, yeah.
So what you're saying is wear a sharp suit and ace 'em
Yeah.
with QE's scientific method.
Yep. QEs.
That's right. Always remember that. It's mine. Thanks, Rams. Appreciate it, man. Rob, questions, comments, concerns?
Whose was it before it was yours?
It's always been mine.
No, because you ain't always been around.
Yes, the Terminator has been brought back from the future.
Well, it was Feynman's before you stole it.
Feynman, he doesn't know the scientific method. You got to keep up with the numpty clips.
I got it. Thank you.
What?
What? Yeah, yeah.
Hold on.
Good.
Is that Arwin going, what? We're saying something bad about Feynman? Surely not.
Yeah. I mean, if it disagrees with its experiment, it's wrong. It's a great quote.
Well, that part is correct. However, the preamble to that conclusion was an abject train wreck, so I had to whip him around by a short hair.
All right.
Yeah, I've heard Feynman spit some pseudoscience a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I agree. He's not
Yeah.
perfect,
Well,
but he said some
well,
great things, though.
No, well, that lecture that you're talking about, like he's specifically talking about theoretical physics. So yeah, kind of poo-poo. I
Well, there you
mean,
go.
it's a great quote, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, the ballers try to use it for their purposes, and it's like, nah. He's not talking about the scientific method. He's talking about Newton being a natural, well, Newton's laws being natural, and it's like, no.
Science
So
philosophy is the word we're looking for.
You guys, you have been keeping up with the numpty clips, man.
I'm not having this.
You're
by the way.
busted. You guys are busted, man.
QE, right?
Sorry, I can't
You're
take
old.
that laugh.
and you know why I figured that out? Because I ran into the numpty clip after the fact. I was arguing with someone on Facebook, and I was like, where did this come from? There's nothing about the scientific method in here. And then when I ran across your numpty clip, I was like, thank you, QE, always coming through clutch.
Yeah. Just go back and watch the numpty clip. It is Foolish Decisions. That's a signature. Just go to the signature clips. It should be, I think it's on top. So Foolish Decisions, you'll see you'll hear a rendition. It's right in the beginning. Not right at the within 5 seconds but it's in the beginning somewhere. Within the first 5 minutes you'll hear it. Listen to it a couple times, you'll see where he train wrecks
At
himself.
least he's still better than
Hold on, Owen,
Einstein,
hold on,
right?
Owen, hold on. I sensed a tone of disdain in Adam's last attempted interruption. Adam, did you have something you wanted to add?
What? I'm not having it though, because he's old, QE, isn't he? But he's not as old as Sir Francis Bacon. So I wouldn't credit him with the method. I'd credit him with giving people a slap round the face with a big wet fish to remind them of what, in a Monty Python-esque way, to remind them what the scientific method is. He's not an inventor, but it's an embarrassment to these ballers that turn up. And this is why they do this. QE's method. Because it is a big wet fish slapped around their faces to remind them of what the scientific method is. Invented, I think,
Right, he was
accredited to the first time to Bacon. But I think that's the reality. It's not an invention, and I'd love to credit it because he's a top man, and I give him so much kudos for so many things, but not the invention of the scientific method, but maybe the reminder of the embarrassment of what the ballers forgot.
Yeah, man, and I agree with that. And you got to give him props because before he was running around slapping everybody with this big fish, right? They were all saying, "Oh, we have science that proves the globe. The body of science proves the globe." All the time. Like that's what people who are new into this subject, maybe you should go back and listen to the arguments and debates that we've had with a lot of these people, they used to tell us all the time that we have science all over the place for this globe. You guys are science deniers, right? Until we started talking about scientific method and actually applying it to the crap that they would tell us. All of a sudden, over the years, the story started changing. Now science does improve things. This is what they are telling us now. Scientific method doesn't exist, says one of these clowns. Same scientific method he was just talking about. So yeah, there you go. Right? So
Simon would have kicked him out of the class if he'd heard it.
yeah, if you're new into this, go back and listen to the old shows, old Flat Earth debate, right? Listen to what they used to tell us all the time. And now it's changed. And that's because QE came in and brought this scientific method to the forefront. So it's the sickest weapon because it's established already. It's the scientific method. This is what they told us they have. They no longer have it. And that's awesome. So just listen to them. They're stumbling all over themselves to tell us how science doesn't prove things anymore. I'm done.
Cool.
It doesn't prove anything unless it proves the globe, right?
That's category error.
Yeah, but that's what they do.
Well, like we've said from the beginning, when I first came out here, I heard it over and over and over again. We've gone over and over and over this many times that more or less, if you believe in the flat earth, then you must deny all of physics and all of science. Meaning that they have scientific evidence for a globe. You see how that follows, right? So my first question to them is, and I've been doing it for the past week since I got back from vacation. It's pretty funny. So, but you know the routine. You've heard me say this many times. Interrupting conversations, about Wall Street or mushrooms. Give us one shred of scientific evidence for your spinning ball space monkey religion. Folks, ballers, you still haven't learned after 5 years. If the first words out of your mouth aren't, that question is malformed and it's a category error. And if those words don't come out of your mouth and then you start trying to think of a natural observed phenomena, you just compromised yourself as a science illiterate. Because whether the earth...
Wiggle.
Yeah, you like that, huh? It's really good. Because, like we already went over in the presentation, remember the algo, right? Is it natural? Yes or no? And then the second part of that question is it a how, why question, cause and effect question, or a what is question? Whether the earth is flat or a sphere is a what is question. It can't enter the scientific method. You see the trap close. So...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yep. That's the game. All right, Rob. Anything else, Rob? Hey, Rob's stonewalling us again.
Well, I'm good.
All right, thanks, Rob. We got Scrat. It's flat. Hey, listen, we haven't talked in a while. He always has great questions, doesn't he? Scrat, it's flat. Floor is yours.
Hey, thanks. To be honest, I don't ever remember learning this stuff in school. Maybe because I just never paid attention in school. But I actually love this because whenever when I'm debating people, when they bring up science, I say, okay, what's your observed phenomenon? And immediately, I'm not going through that. What, you're not going to pull QE stuff on me?
See?
I said, well, you claim science.
See, you ain't going to say that louder again.
What? I'm not going to. Wait, which part?
I'm not going through QE stuff. See, it's mine.
Well, I know. That's what they've been saying.
That's
It's yours and
Yep.
Nathan's too.
Yep. It's both of ours. Nathan got a little piece of the action down there. I don't want to close the door on him totally.
A little.
Well, I just got one question. When exactly was the scientific method actually established, or set in stone as this is the scientific? When did that happen?
It was codified by Sir Francis Bacon. However, about 1,000 years before him, there was a gentleman. Damn, I can't. Names on the tip of my tongue. I'm terrible with names. It was a gentleman right around Al-Biruni's time over in that part of the world that first wrote down more or less the empirical nature of scientific investigation. I'll get you that name. Just remind me. All right.
Okay.
Can I give the baller answer?
Go ahead.
It was the well,
about
Huey is the reincarnation of himself 1,000 years ago, so it was actually Huey.
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
Were you talking about Socrates?
Not so. No. It was. I think it was. You guys are gonna force me to go find out.
John Tanya.
Epicurus.
It wasn't Epicurus. No.
Plato.
Wasn't Plato. No. It wasn't a philosopher.
Well, when was Bacon around?
Bacon 15, if I'm not mistaken, 15, 16, 1700. I don't. I have to look it up. I can't remember.
As long as swine.
As long as swine.
Within the timeline of him having enough primary source evidence to think he was real and things like that. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I got another one. I got another super chat from Tony. Thanks, Tony.
Go on, sorry, John.
Yeah, just one quick super chat from Tony Wickham. Chocolate nailed it. He don't melt, this guy. There you go, Chocolate.
All right. Good looking out, Tony.
I don't know what you nailed because I didn't look at it. My fault. A little late on.
When I referenced his super chat earlier.
Oh,
with the scientific method, the guy, the senator, all that.
So I want to cite Chocolate. I shouted out Epicurus, and there's a reason for me. It comes from Wikipedia. There's a couple of quotes that I think.
It's Al Hazen.
Who?
Like Al-Biruni. Al Hazen.
Hands up, who's never ever heard of that name before?
Sounds like a 60s country and western singer to me.
I didn't even get to look it up when I was typing the scientific method in. I remembered his name that came back to me. So Al Hazen, 1 second. I don't think that's his correct name. I call him Hazen. Hold on a second.
Are you sure it's not Al Hazan?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Okay, that sounds more familiar.
Oh, that did it for you. So
I'm lying.
Yeah,
no, not at all.
Yeah, Al, like he said, Al Hazin. Yeah, that's the name. So if you guys want to look it up, it's like Al Bubby Baruni. This one is Al Hazen. Let me spell it for you correct. Hold on a second. Let me check.
How is he?
What year we got on
Is
that?
he British?
Hold on. How is How'd you say it? Al Hazen? How'd you say it?
Just go Al Hazen.
Al Hazan. How is he linked to the scientific method? How is he credited for it?
He was the first one to put down in writing more or less the steps of the scientific method. Yep.
It's Ibn al-Hithan. Al Hazen is the.
Well, now I'm
Ibn
confused.
al-Hithan.
What's Bacon got to do with it then?
Bacon codified it into what we know today as a scientific method.
Everything is done by the Elizabethans in history.
Hold on. He whatified it?
Codified it.
Made it official.
Don't know what codified means. What's codified mean?
Put it
a
into...
little bit like. Go on.
It's just like Art. Is that Arwin who said that? Arranged it into more of a systematic type of thing.
You organized
like
it.
Like a remix.
Sort of a remix, yes.
It's a cover version by Bacon.
A total cover version. Let me come to Epicurus, right? 'Cause this is why he's Epicurus is 100 BC. As far as I know, I'm not sure when Alberine is.
Alhazen.
Yeah.
Zan.
Ibn al-Haytham.
Al-Hassan.
1320s. So, kiss my chuddies.
What chuddies? What the hell are chuddies?
I got 1400 years on you.
Did you say? Did you say 13 something? We got what primary
13,
source?
It's saying. What was it saying? It's 13.
What primary sources have we
850.
got?
8801. 801.
Oh, even better. So what primary sources have we got for Al Hassan?
There's definitely primary sources for him. I can't give them to you right now, but there definitely is.
See how QE popped the mic then with his enthusiasm. Oh, definitely primary sources.
Sorry, popping the mic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Go on then. What are they?
It's Middle Ages anyway. This anyway. Epicurus. These are the bit I just want to. For me, it's fundamental because a lot of the scientific method comes from Greek logic, and so Epicurus. I'll just quote from Wiki. In his work, Epicurus laid out the first rule for inquiry in physics: that the first concepts be seen, and that they not require demonstration. And old school, but I think that fits with what we're saying. His second rule for inquiry was that prior to an investigation, we are to have self-evident concepts so that we might infer what is to be expected and also what is non-apparent. That's what 2,200 years ago. These seem the fundamentals that any logical man would say, that if you're going to try and say something causes something, if you're trying to get to the inquiry of what life's about, you have to be able to control it, to have some logical inference and way of saying that this is the reason for this. I think fundamentally the one is Epicurus's first rule, that in physics that the first concepts be seen, which as I'm aware is another way of saying that word I hate saying, phenomena. That seems the first step of the scientific principle to me.
That's fine. I could roll with that, man. It's not a biggie. I'd like to see the primary documentation for that.
Me too.
I knew you would.
Primary source evidence, please.
Shout out to Lumpy Gas in a Vacuum. QE, thanks for teaching. You're very welcome. So, anyone want to comment on Epicurus, or can we move on from here? I guess we can move on from here. Is that all you got, Scrat?
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Stacy B.
You were right, QE. It's always a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, he does. He just has good questions. Right?
Thank you.
Yep. Stacy
just
B.
wanna learn.
What's up, girl? Stacy. You've been waiting. I know you have been waiting. Let's go. Give it to us. We'll come back to you then, Stacy. Get your act together. Tell Jedi to formulate at least a half-decent question. Oh, you know what? Speaking of you, Stacy, I knew there was something. There was something I heard a hangout with you on. I don't know how long ago it was. It was on Spurs renditions of Gem Panda's Numpty channel. And they had claimed something about the scientific method, ironically. So you're right on topic right now. And you said that you were going to ask QE about something that they told you. I can't remember what they told you. So, and you said you're going definitely to talk to QE about it. So I want to know what that is. So we'll probably have to get back to that. You guys don't let me forget that. So we'll roll back to Stacy here in a few minutes. Sugar Cookie. You want to know, you had a lot of questions. Of course, there weren't about the scientific method.
Yeah. Adam did just bring up some logical stuff. So I thought that would kind of be helpful to kind of differentiate and explain at the same time.
Okay.
Okay,
go,
so
go ahead. Go ahead. You're cool.
no,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, love your show, first time caller.
Cool.
But listening for years. So yeah. So as far as the logical argument goes for, say, like the black swan.
Mhm.
Pardon me, I'm a little bit nervous.
No, that's okay. Take your time.
So you have the logical argument, and I know it's a logical argument isn't necessarily the same as a scientific proof.
I got the logical argument on screen for everyone to see. So, yeah, yeah, this isn't a hypothesis. So, go ahead. I'll let you go. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so for the black swan, so I believe that starts off with if 1.22.
No, it's if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P.
Right,
The
so
argument is, I'll give you the whole argument so everyone's on the same sheet.
Yeah. Yes, please do.
Yep. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet Q, not Q because the horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a sphere.
Okay, so the if is the radius. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep. That's one of the conditional premises. Yep.
Okay, so if a glober was to figure out a different number from that, and I understand that that's an average.
I'll take this, John.
Yeah, go ahead, take it, Adam. You can squash it quick.
Sorry, Sugar. Please finish your question. But
Yeah. So I think, from what I'm thinking, is the outcome of the argument almost debunks the if, because it either increases the sphere or it's not. So it, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure that out.
the logical syllogism that's there, there may be a little niggle in the back of your head because it's not true. We should finish the statement with the Earth is not a sphere of, at least from the Black Swan photo, at least a sphere of no less than 250,000 miles R value. That's what we can say from the logical syllogism of just the Black Swan. But point being is, it's not a sphere, is it? Stop it. How big do we have to make it to disprove your paradigm? Yeah. Suddenly, the Earth is as big as from here to the moon in half its width. Yeah. So there's a level of secondary logic you have to apply to the statement Earth is not a sphere that you kind of logically know, okay, yeah, maybe I can't prove that the Earth is not a sphere from the supposed and presupposed size from here to Jupiter, for example. I'd need another photo for that, which we've got some. But I think within that, but the logic is it absolutely destroys the geometry of the presupposed bit, and that's the first part. Yeah, if P, and that's not our statement, that's their statement. If the Earth, well, we're saying if the Earth, but all of us are saying the Earth is a ball of 3959. That's a positive statement from them that we can work forward from logically, and that's when the Black Swan kicks in, because we don't have to accept 3959, but they preach it.
Right.
There is a further primary logical inference that's tucked away in that Modus Solens, because it's just specifically detailing a horizon distance measurement. Now, although these words aren't wrapped up in Dewey's statement specifically, what is the horizon? Well, the horizon in the globe paradigm detailed with the radius value 3959, the horizon's Earth curve. The further logical implication after the black swan has been demonstrated with the imagery is that the horizon is not Earth curve.
Cool. Sugar cookie?
Yeah.
There's further logical inference from that. If it's not Earth curve, then the only logical inference for Earth, a horizon, as we see it, is that it's a creation of perspective and optical dissolution, or the point you can no longer resolve anything on a flat plane.
I understand.
And the last sentence was the most important one.
I'm sorry.
The logical influence refers to that all of that can apply perspective, the way we understand it, and every other function that we observe optically is on a flat plane. No other way to logically infer anything. If you want to put a positive statement about what the shape of the Earth is, the nature, and logically you can state that because we understand perspective and how it works on flat planes. And when we observe stuff, it fits and matches perspective on a flat plane.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely above and beyond what the statement is, though, right?
Well, that's application of logic, yeah. But that's just modus tollens with regards to destroying the positive statement from ballers that we live on a ball of radius 3959.
Okay.
He is correct, though. It is
I
working outside the parameters, Sugar, of the modus tollens, and that is explicitly stated by Quantum Eraser. It's a globe killer. However, it is not in any way unreasonable to take the next logical inference from that, which is that the Earth must be flat, based on what we know about perspective, which is what I'm just reiterating Adam's point that he said was the most important point. But yeah, it's not unreasonable to take that next logical inference, but you are correct. Within modus tollens, the black swan modus tollens, Earth a sphere radius 3959, every horizon distant measurement can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the Earth's height in feet, and the black swan shows beyond all certitude that it's beyond those geometric limitations. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere of radius 3959, and the horizon is not Earth curve. I hope that's the most concise summary of that argument to make it make a bit more sense in that regard. Hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to. I have another question, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, go ahead. If you've got another question, feel free.
Yeah, go ahead. You got a question concerning Black Swan, Sextant, and Alice and Bob, my favorite. Go ahead with the Sextant.
Yeah. Okay, so I think okay, so the Sextant. So I don't know how to compare the two from going from Black Swan to the year of the Sextant from 10th Man. What is there a logical statement in the Sextant argument, or is it a scientific one? I'm just trying to figure out how to wrap my mind around that.
It's a measurement.
It's
you
a
can't
geometric
use it.
Oh, hold on a second. Let Nathan go ahead and take this one.
It's. I'm going to lean on Brian's point in this regard. Once you've made a dip correction, making a purely geometric assertion, the tool deals with straight lines. Okay. Well, what's the rebuttal to the black swan? We don't have a geometric horizon. Why would you expect to see physical geometry? The horizon's not the geometric horizon, etc., etc. It's refracted.
Right.
All of those things fly in the face of how the sextant works and operates, taking a geometric measurement of a straight line. They don't have on a sphere anymore, because their response to the black swan is what? Well, it's a bent line, refracted. Don't have any straight lines. We've got atmosphere. We wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. Well, it's a geometric tool. End of their discussion, because what are they going to say? Oh yeah, we get a straight line by just looking at the horizon and knowing it's flat. That was the last response we got. We all laughed because, well, no, you've just told us for 21 straight months that it's refracted. Unfortunately for you, you don't have a straight line, precisely what the sextant uses.
So does that? I think the problem that I run into is with the sextant question is spherical geometry, and where it goes back to geometry where you can't have angles without straight lines, and that goes back in. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a weird play on words, but it's a circular, to me, it kind of goes in a circular argument anyway, back to, well, I don't know where the dip correction comes from. I don't know how you factor in refraction on the sextant thing, and then all of the math that goes along with finding that GP with above or below the equator based on where you are on the prime meridian and the latitude you're at. So I think for me, it's kind of hard to figure out. That's why I don't know if there's a modus tollens set for the sextant like there is for the black swan.
I'll give you a modus tollens at dip horizon. If dip horizon, right,
I'm sorry. That's another question I had was I don't know what dip correction is. That doesn't make sense to me either.
Okay, let me try and field this before Adam does. Then, Adam, you go next. So, dip correction when you're talking about a sextant is merely a height correction. So, because you're going to be measuring pure geometry, and the line that you're going to be measuring is the line along the ground to where the star is above the ground. So you've got a straight line from you to that position below the star. That is what you're going to be utilizing. And that is a purely geometric measurement. Now, in order for that to make sense, the angle must be from the flat ground and not somewhere in midair. Therefore, you correct how high you are above the deck. So if you're up the top of a mast with your sextant for whatever reason, and you've got to correct for that and say, well, I'll adjust this measurement so that my angle isn't off because it should be taken from the ground. So there's a correction to put the measurement back on the ground to make it geometric again, that you are no longer dealing with optics, but only dealing with the geometry. That's what the dip correction with a sextant is utilizing, just a correction for height. However, we'll let you go in a minute, Adam, I promise. On a globe, we've got a dip measurement that's made by Al-Biruni when you take a 90-degree to your position. In other words, the zenith is a straight line down through your head through the ground. Well, you can get a straight line from that. 90 degrees to that position where you stand at your zenith would give you 90 degrees. Now, if you're up a mountain, like Al-Biruni was, you're looking at the horizon, you can infer that whatever the horizon is below that 90-degree line that you've drawn at your zenith, that's the dip that you're going to be measuring. What globe anti-flat earthers do is they convolute the two. For a sextant, it's merely a height adjustment. For Al-Biruni measuring R, it's a measurement from a 90-degree, measured from your zenith, to the horizon measured as a dip, then later derive R from. They're two different things. They get convoluted between what's actually happening when you use a sextant when you're dealing with an anti-flat earther. And I hope that helps.
Kind of.
Adam, go ahead, because there's more to come. Sorry, it's a good question. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, spot on. From a maths point of view, when you look at this, there's, and again, it's you take the dip angle because, and the most important function of the dip angle, in fact, the function it asks you to measure is your height above the water, and that's the mathematical function you're taking in place now. Sugar, isn't it? Sugar cookie.
Yeah.
If I was to stand at the same point on the same day in exactly the same place, but different atmospherics, and I was to align my sextant to the horizon, and it's a cloudy day, and I use the horizon, will it align my sextant? Boom, true.
Sorry, it sounds like you're cutting out.
It was a question. Sorry. On a cloudy day, if I use my sextant and I've got a reduced horizon, will that horizon still be level and true and plumb square to where I am? Can I use the sextant on that day?
Does that matter?
Yeah, you can. It does. It works. And if it's a clear day, and I can actually, from my perspective, see further, and I align to the horizon there with my sextant, will that be plumb and true?
Well, you're still looking at the horizon either way, right?
Or suddenly I can see a lot further. So the point I'm aligning to create plumb and true is a different image, we say, but it still aligns plumb and true. It still creates a zenith between me and the horizon, and this in the sextant it creates a 90 degrees to the plane. Yeah.
Sure.
So the point of the horizon then isn't a physical location we're aligning with to create plumb and true.
Right.
It's something that is actually generated through something that's God given, which is your eyeball. Yeah, because the optical limit of the eyeball is standard. Whatever the atmospheric conditions, the eye is going to see as far as it can see, but it's still going to align and create that horizon true based on the optics of the eyeball and the lens that you're looking through in the case of the sextant. So the horizon here is, again, to align the sextant, nothing that's based on physical geometry measurement. The way the sextant works is through the majesty of the eye and its perfect symmetry. That's how it works. So if you accept that, then you look at the maths, and like I said, we only take that first measurement, which is how far above the surface that we accept to be plain and true is the eye is, and therefore how corrupted the measurement is, what the adjustment's for, then that's the only bit of maths. Now, as I just said, the alternative for a baller is to say that that horizon is a geometric edge. On which day? The cloudy day or the sunny day, is it a geometric edge?
Okay, so a couple of questions. Thank you for that. Dip angle is just, to me, it implies curvature, but it doesn't. Am I thinking of this to get rid of that thought? Am I thinking just instead of standing at the top of the mast on the boat, just be at the water level? Then you don't have a dip angle, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's basically putting your eye line in the water as opposed
Right.
to on top of the boat.
Gotcha. So
It's
that's
it's
all
poor.
that means.
It's I think it's poor terminology that they use. The dip angle. You're just accounting for the elevation that you're above the water.
Okay. Thank you. And
You're
also, I think that the horizon, whether it looks closer or it looks further, that doesn't necessarily matter, though, does it? I mean, I'm just kind of trying to think this out.
No,
Sugar,
it's a
just
function of
just go
optics.
back to that last point because that's crucial.
Okay.
The crucial point of the dip angle is for what? It's not just to bring your eye to the surface of the water. Because if we're viewing this on a ball, lovely, we've brought our eye to the surface of the water. The question mathematically is, what does bringing our eye to the surface of the water do mathematically that enables us to calculate things? And
Well, it would give you a more accurate angle,
no,
right?
no, the angle's already accurate. We're going to adjust the angle mathematically via the dip angle. We can only measure it once in reality. and we take that measurement and we observe how far above the water surface we are. Now, the purpose of us doing the calculation is to bring it to the water surface, and bringing it to the water surface on a ball helps us naught. It does nothing unless we know the full structure of that water surface and how it curves infinitum, yeah, which we don't, and the ancients didn't when they derived this, yeah. The purpose of bringing the eye to the surface of the water is because at that point, suddenly the angle you create to the star is true to a straight line perpendicular underneath. It creates a flat surface. That's why you bring the eye, because the purpose of bringing the eye to the surface of the water is the proven assumption that the surface of the water is a flat line. At that point, we can start to use trigonometry and mathematics to calculate things with assumptive reasons from basic geometry. Yeah. Without that assumption, or without an R value, then you can't calculate these things. You need one or the other. An R value, given that you assume it's a geometric horizon, and you still need the R value, or the knowledge and the assumption that it's a flat plane, and you can calculate from there. That's why we bring the eye down to there, because it then means the angle adjustment is based upon the eye being on the water's level across that flat plane.
I think I follow that, and I think that at that point, I think that the sextant works no matter what model you want to put to it, right?
Wrong.
Not really.
Well, can I say it like this?
Is that right?
The point of the dip angle correction is so that the angle from the observer to the ground position where the star is directly overhead,
Yeah,
it needs to be 0.
I get it. Yeah, it makes it
right.
It makes it a straight line, so you can do your angle and get an accurate one. I think I understand that.
Sugar. Your first statement there, yes, all or flat, the sextant works. The point is that it to have any comprehensible use to you, the angle that you measure with the sextant that works, yeah, that angle to have any validity either has to mean you have to know R, yeah, or know that it's a flat plane you're working on. Now, the ancients that derived this didn't have R, yeah.
Right.
This is pre even Aristophanes, yeah. All of these things that worked. So this is worked on trigonometry. It's basic geometry in which it works. So
right. I think
in terms of the way the tool works, I just want to add this because it's Brian's point. In terms of the way the tool works, once you've done the dip correction, you're no longer dealing with the optics. You're only dealing with straight flat line, which is what the tool does. It just deals with angles, two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Well, as soon as you've got a curved surface, you haven't got a straight line to the GP of the star anymore. The tool's useless. Now, Adam's saying, well, you can use it on the model. Well, no, you can't, because what are you doing with it? Well, you're trying to find your position. Well, as Adam's saying, well, you can do it on the model. No, you can't. You can only do it after the fact if you know precisely where the GP of the star is in relation to you before you start doing any measurements, rendering it useless. I'm going to disagree with Adam and say, well, while you might be able to do it after the fact, that's not how the tool's used, and it defeats the purpose of the tool.
no, you're agreeing with me. Oh, I'm not disagreeing. Yeah.
No, I'm only disagreeing. Let me just clarify what I'm disagreeing with. Your statement was it works on both models. Well, no, it doesn't, because works. What's the work, the function you're trying to actually perform with the tool? When you're out at sea and you're going, well, I know where I've been. Now I need to triangulate to figure out exactly where I am. Well, if you're trying to do that, you don't know exactly where you are on a sphere in relation to the R value dropped to the GP of the star. Get it right when you do the maths. In other words, it renders the tool useless, so it doesn't work.
I'll take that word back totally, Nathan. Works is completely incorrect. You can as you say, you can back calculate it for yourself and place yourself on the ball after you've done the stuff, been there, measured it, seen it, calculated it on a flat plane. Yeah, I take that back. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Perfect. Let me I want to bring clarity to that once more. In terms of being back calculated, you can back calculate how a sextant might operate if it wasn't being used the way it was on a sphere, if it was on a sphere. That back calculation you might be able to get to line up with your sphere belief. In terms of the work that tool does, well, it works in a geometric manner with straight lines, and there's no correction needed when it's on the ground dealing with a straight line to the star's GP, making the Earth flat.
Correct.
So there's a point that 10th Man is waiting for, I guess, someone to come to. I don't know if this is it, because it's already obvious, it's already been stated that if the Earth is curving away from you, then you don't have a angle to the GP. Well, I just thought about it as you were saying it. When you put your eyeball to the ball, if it was a ball, then the distance to the horizon is 0. So immediately inoperable the sextant would be at that point. Immediately.
I don't. That to me, that sounds like it's just begging for spherical geometry to just take a shit all over that.
Why?
Well, because you're only measuring an angle from, like, you don't have an angle to measure from if it's 0 to the horizon.
Isn't that what I just said?
0 distance to the horizon.
You're agreeing with each other.
I thought that's what you were saying.
All right, is that good? Hold on a sec.
Tool's
Nathan, you got
using-
something to add with that?
Yeah, if that tool's measuring 2 straight lines, yeah, and it's on the ground, yeah, you can get a straight line if you assume all being well and good, you've got a straight line to the star. You haven't got a second straight line to the GP of the star anymore on a sphere. Tool fails completely and utterly on a sphere. There's no other way around this.
Yeah.
You don't have any line, any second line.
You don't have the corner
have one.
pocket.
The way to kind of visualize this is if you're at the North Pole and you're looking at a star that from your viewpoint is 45 degrees, yeah? If you draw that across, then it should, if it was 90 degrees, it'd draw down on that ball to the equator, wouldn't it? So it should draw down somewhere halfway between the North Pole and the equator. Now, actually straight line down from your star to intersect with your ground. But you've previously defined the x-axis by your sextant and your optical way of defining straight and level, plumb. Yeah? Now, you then look at that triangle. Suddenly, your triangle has 2 options. It either goes straight through and doesn't intersect with the GP of the star, or you have to redraw your position from you on the ground to the GP, which was previously a straight line, 0 degrees almost, yeah, but suddenly it now becomes more obtuse than that and cuts down through the supposed ball Earth, therefore negating the measurement you've just took to the star, because you took that star from a flat point. So you completely bastardize and pervert all the maths that you've just taken and validated by using the sextant with a straight line, then put it in a different place, draw a straight line down to it on a curved surface, replace it, which means the initial line is totally invalid. It's paradoxical. I'd call it Alwyn's equivalent. It'd be Kant's paradox. Because it is that. It's circular logic again on the same way.
No offense, but that confused the shit out of me.
I need a diagram to kind of show you what you have to do. You keep moving the triangle. You flick it between being flat based on the sextant, and angle down to the GP position based on drawing a straight line between the observer and the altered GP position because of drop. Yeah, so the angle moves. But you've defined your previous angle based on it being this angle, and you move it to a new GP, and therefore it removes the angle of straight because you're on a ball. I need pictures, but hopefully people can comprehend that, and it's paradoxical
I think
in the
we're getting a
measurements.
little more into the weeds than my original kind of thought was. My brain's hurting. But
Listen, a damn thing can't work on a sphere. End of
You-
story. It works on a flat Earth.
You
Yeah,
just
no,
gotta you just gotta imagine
I
it.
think I understand that part. I guess it was also kind of like a segue in between the black swan question that I had, where there's a logical argument to that. And what is the logical argument for the sextant? Is there a modus tollens for that, or is it kind of
Why do you
deep
want to
law?
make it an argument when it's just a measurement? All you got to do is know how to use the sextant, and then you do the measurements. There kind of is no argument.
You could make one
Well,
up.
I would
was
say that
thinking-
the very
Hold on.
existence.
You can
I'm sorry, I
easily
was under the
correlate it into
impression that
logical consistency. There's no issue. Just it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
Somebody will, and their name will get attributed to it when they do.
Yep, you can
Yeah,
make a
Noah's
logical
told for
argument. You can make a logical argument with it. I hadn't thought about it, but you could do it.
Yeah, it's if sextant works, flat plane.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that simple, though, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the very existence of it, and the fact that it's used, and the
same.
fact that they've. Hello.
You can say the same thing the other way. But
Can
it's
anybody
not.
hear chocolate?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Just the
that-
very
it-
fact that this thing is used, right, negates the fact that it could be a ball, right?
Oh.
Because if you're on a curved surface, you can't get a 90-degree angle to the GP of any star, because any star from where you are is bending around away from you because you're on a ball. How do you ever get a 90-degree angle when your eye is on the level surface, right? Like when you said you put your eyes in the water, you can never get the GP of the star at a 90-degree angle after that because you're on a ball. It's all curving away from you.
Can
And
I
this
just
thing is used all the time. It's been plotted out. 10th Man's brought out the almanac, right? How is that used if we're on a ball? Very existence and the use of this thing negates the fact that it could be a ball.
Well, how far in the weeds do we want to get on this? Because
We're not. We're gonna start
Okay.
wrapping this
Really,
up.
John.
Hold up. We're gonna start wrapping this up. We can't go on and on and on about this. All right.
right.
So
I understand the general premise, and thank you, QE, for kind of clarifying that the logical part needs to be worked on rather than just the measuring part.
I don't think so, but we could definitely come up with a modus tollens for it. Like I said, I haven't thought about it. I've been busy, but I'll think about it. Well, what you could do is jump on Nathan's show like Monday and Tuesday and bring all this stuff up to those guys on the show.
Okay.
John,
Yeah.
this is the bit, where I think a week or two ago, probably before your break, I made this statement about linear function and straight function. This is exactly where the modus tollens will work, because once we define what the function is, then you can apply a linear function. And with regards to how a sextant has to be agreed to work, then it is linear. Irrespective of curvature, it's still linear, the function that you're measuring, because in their model, they push it out to infinity. So the only way in which change of function could occur in their model is curvature. So you could use a modus tollens for this, and it would demonstrate, like I said, when we were saying 69 miles per degree is linear or curved. And I drew an objection there just in terms of the way the ballers are trying to mug us off. actually you could put it into a modus tollens and use that quite well, and describe this because it's described by the Sextant, and like I said, there's no apologetics because they push it out to infinity.
So I'm going to make it official. I am crowning 5A Adam Meakin with coming up with the logical argument with the Sextant. All present. A, yay or nay?
Yay.
I was going to do a modus. I was going to do a.
I'm going to shout out Andy 10.
Gas your ass if you don't come up with it, dude.
All right.
I'll give it a whirl.
Nathan's he wants to add something here.
I was going to say, is it if A then B, A therefore B? Is that modus ponens?
You could do I was thinking about modus ponens, modus tollens. Like I said, I have to think about it, but I'm getting really hungry and there's a pizza coming.
I just might as well wrap
and
it
there's
up.
a shit ton of
No,
stuff.
I want tolerance.
Hello.
I want tolerance.
Hello. Okay, so we had half of it from Scrat. Is it already? It's like, well, if Earth is flat, Sextant will work. Well, that's pretty much good enough. If the Earth is flat, we will take a straight, flat measurement to the GP of any navigation star. And Earth is flat, we do take measurements straight and flat to the GP of navigation stars. It's pretty much as simple as that. That's why it's like, well, why do we need a complicated modus tollens when it's like Earth is flat, it takes a flat measurement. What more is there to do it? To it than that? That is pretty much it. It's flat, it measures flat.
I did your
That's why I
job
want
for
the
you, Adam.
tolerance, isn't it? That's why I want the modus tollens, because otherwise it's not even a challenge, is it?
I think it would be good because with the modus tollens, you would have to aggregate, for lack of a better word, the assumptions that have to go along with it, one way or another.
I hear Kiwi's stomach rumbling.
Yeah, all right.
Wingies. Also, lots of people to shout out their channels and stuff. So
Exactly.
I'll do this. Don't mind, QE. I'll wrap it up quick if you want.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Make sure you come back, Sugar Cookie. Yeah, you had great questions, man. We love the questions. It's just we're getting a bit long in the tooth here. So Nathan, if you want to take charge with the BALLBUSTERS, thanks guys for coming, but have them shout out their stuff. Go ahead, take over, sir.
Arwin, are you there? Chocolate. Oh no,
Yeah.
Arwin, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah,
Start your channel.
Thanks, QE, for having me. I've mostly just been listening to the show. It's been great. I still do my early bird show every day, 2 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekend and 1 p.m. Amsterdam time in the weekdays. So yeah, that's still going just fine and dandy. I hope to see. I got a lot of new subscribers. Like, is it like 30? So yeah, suddenly new people are rolling in. It's very interesting. Have some fresh new people in the chat. Hope to see you there. Thanks for having me. Good show.
Chocolate saying, do you want to shout out anybody or yourself?
Yeah, Kiwi, good presentation, good show, fellas. Shout out to BALLBUSTERS. Shout out to your show, Nathan, Flat Earth Debate. Shout out to Mitchell, new BALLBUSTER. I guess I'll shout out my channel, Chocolate Saying. Got a couple of some hip hop. Got some music on there if you want. So check it out.
Oh, thank you very much. Eli, do you want to?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes, actually. So I don't have a channel as of yet, but if you have any questions and it's late in the hour for you, but you want someone to talk to, you can go over to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, or you can look up the YouTube 24/7 Flat Earth Discord live, and it'll take you there. Any questions you have, you can ask them there. Thank you.
Oh yeah, big shout out 24/7 Flat Earth Discord. Mitchell, you around still?
Still here, guys. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome. My Flat Earth school sessions run daily, Monday to Friday, 3 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. UK, 6 a.m. Australian. Yeah, try and catch you if you can. Looking forward to see you guys.
I'm going to come back to Quantum Eraser last of all to shout out numpty clips and stuff. But Adam, shout outs?
Yeah. Yes, I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been a good outside of the bit we all kind of know. I've really enjoyed the banter. Nothing like a man proving that he's a man of his word, is there? And I think at the beginning, a couple of hours ago, John said to Mitchell, "Let me give you a spanner, so you can speak and spam the chat at the end of this." Nathan, you leave her in. And as proven, Mitchell is.
Hold up, Adam. Adam, hold up. Nathan, you're echoing through your mic, man. There you go, Adam. Go ahead, say it again.
Just to say that, as proven, and just to welcome Mitchell, of a man of his word. Nice to see you sticking it out there, and that's what I want to just say. Look, no channel to shout out. Best channel out there, like through the week, I think is there. There's no argument. There's no banging your head against the wall with ballers and that. It's just like the obvious there. And if you've got a point to make, I'm sure Mitchell would address it. And there was a couple of Muppets tonight with no points, which probably, if you kind of make those points, not worth addressing, but actually bring stuff, whether even if it's, you know what I mean, not a ball earth argument, but as a flat earth argument where you don't understand something. I'd love to sit in chat and love to address it. And yeah, shout out Mitchell. I'm really enjoying the school, and it's a really nice. In the old days, we used to have a TV Times, which would be you bring out a little magazine, because we in the UK, John, we only had four terrestrial channels. So there'd be a little magazine that would come tell you what was on each week. And I think most flat earthers have their own version of that. And a few weeks now, but I mean,
we call that a TV guide.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I mean. It's part of that. Then Mitchell is already installed in part of my flat earth guide, in terms of viewing. And yeah, I'd recommend it to all of you guys. So yeah, shout out.
Right.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
I'll do it. One last shout out to all the Ballbusters and my show that's running. Huey, can you plug your numpty clips?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to say welcome to our newest member, Mitchell from Australia. Well, these guys, good luck. No, you'll fit right in, man. You rock on. Yeah, with the numpty clips, they're slowly coming to an end. I'm getting sick of doing them. I think there's plenty of them there, to prove the flat earth. They're slowly becoming my #1 flat earth proof. You got a couple more, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 regular ones, and then we're going to go off with a bonanza of signature numpty clips, like a whole month, one after the other. So hold on to your hat. Nathan, sir, take us home.
Perfect. With that, another massive thank you to all of today's Ballbuster crew. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the audience for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. There's also a brand new Flat Earth Debate uncut and after show going out on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley. So be here or be sphere for brand new Flat Earth Debate uncut and after show. I will spam the link in the chat. A massive thank you, of course, to Quantum Eraser for hosting Ballbusters. We'll see you all in the next one.